Time for Saturday Night Alive for the Global Peace Tribe. Welcome, everybody. I'm Love Coach Scott Katamas, and it's Saturday Night Alive for the Global Peace Tribe. You know, just listening right now to our theme song, which was created and sung by Larissa Stowe. What a perfect couple of lines. We are the peacemakers. We are the children of love. And more than any other show that we've ever done, that's what tonight's all about. We really want to be the peacemakers, to find compassion, to come back into unity. And so it's a very special show. It's a special night, and we're glad that you're all with us. So thank you very, very much. I want to acknowledge that most of you right now are watching us on Facebook. And thank you, especially all of our friends that are watching on Unify. And I want to invite you, come on into the Zoom room. It's wonderful to be in the Zoom room because then it's easier for us to interact with you. And by coming into the Zoom room, you can participate at the end of the show when we have our community connection time. And it's really easy to come in. All you got to do is go to globalpeacetribe.com. In other words, open up your browser and go to globalpeacetribe.com. Oh, I brought up my Gofundme instead. I meant to bring up something else. Go to globalpeacetribe.com and register. And then we have your email address. And when we have your email address, then it's we can send you notifications. And every Monday, Deborah sends out a really important notice that's got the replay of the most recent show, but also access to all of our prior shows. I think this is about our 30th show now. So do go to globalpeacetribe.com, register. Also, when you register, we provide you with some really wonderful gifts. And Deborah will be putting a link into the chat box. Also, we've got people from all over the world who watch. I've noticed as people coming into our Zoom room, still please continue, Zoom roomers, to give us your name and where you're from. We've got almost 200 people that are with us already. And I've noticed that we've got people from Mexico. We've got people from Canada. And I know that a lot of people watching on Unify are from all over the world. So that's pretty exciting. For example, I see right now popping up Boston, Washington State, Rhode Island. You see, we are truly the Global Peace Tribe, and we're all coming together. I always like to say we're like the imaginal cells. And you know how a caterpillar, as it dies, the imaginal cells find each other. They come together and they become the butterfly. And I believe that's what's happening now. I also want to ask my partner, Deborah, to turn her camera on because it's about time for me to turn things over to you. But your camera's not on yet, Deborah. There you are. So I get to turn it over to my partner who makes so many things happen. She and I are both really excited about tonight's show. Take it away, Deborah.
Thank you, Scott. And yes, this is a very special show tonight, and we thank you so much for being a part of it. It's our 31st show tonight that we have produced every Saturday night since the lockdown during these highly challenging but very evolutionary times. And it's our 6th show of the fall season, which is October through December. And we have 6 more shows for you. And we're just beginning to plan our next season for the winter, which is going to be January through March. And thank you so much for all your donations that with your support that really helps us to get a very high level show to you each week. And yes, our theme tonight is post-election recovery, unifying with compassion and solutions. Wow, what a powerful day. What a powerful time to do this show. We've all gone through so much together in our nation, and this show has gone through a lot. We've rode the waves of all that's happened, from the COVID outbreak to Black Lives Matter and now the election. So now is the time, we feel, to heal the divisions and the polarization that we've been experiencing and compassionately come together towards solutions that can work for everyone. We always testify that we are the creators of our own reality of what's transpiring in the world. So can we rise above now into a non-polarized, unified human experience? So this is our real challenge at this time, not just with politics, but all the issues that we're facing in this world. As we say, and what Scott said on almost every show, we are the imaginal cells that are here now to create this reality. And we've assembled an amazing group of speakers who are here to share with you possible solutions that we can all rally together for this very special times. We are going to be hosting Marianne Williamson, who is the best-selling author, political activist, and spirit thought leader, who isn't just talk. She actually ran for Congress several years ago, and last year she ran for the President of the United States, bringing a fresh, new, conscious voice to our nation. And we have Foster Gamble. He's the co-producer of Thrive Movies, of which Thrive 2 has just released incredible solutions for positive shifts in our world. We also have Charles Eisenstein, who's a teacher, a speaker, writer. He focuses on themes of civilizations, consciousness, money, and human cultural evolution. We also have Lori Ladd. She's an ascension teacher, a multidimensional channel. She dedicates her life to assisting humanity in this current planetary shift. And we've got great music. We have Kali's Angels, who's an incredible women's group with 3 extremely talented high vibe women. We also have Fantuzzi, who's one of our incredible house bands. He is a global troubadour that spreads light and love through his amazing music. We will also feature Neil Gar. He's an incredible visionary who produces Portal to Ascension, an online program with top speakers and forming new paradigm, and he's going to share with us very conscious spoken word. We also have magician, illusionist, mind reader, comedian Paul Draper, who has appeared on the History Channel, A&E, HBO, Hallmark, Travel Channel, and many more. And we have comedian Swami Byandananda. He's an incredible conscious magician, comedian, and he makes us laugh, sharing truth about ourselves. His favorite yoga pose is tongue in cheek. So we invite you to invite your friends to join us on Zoom now. Communicate in the chat room where you're from. We've posted the link in the chat room on how you can share on Facebook. We'd love for you to do that. Anyone who registered, we're going to send you the replay on Monday, so please get that out to your friends. This is going to be a very powerful and healing show to so many. And if you stick around to the end, we may have community connections where you can come on. Also, our GoFundMe this time, we've been supporting a lot of the fire victims in the West Coast and even Colorado. So we have another fire victim, Crystal Manoz, who lost her home totally in the Oregon wildfire. And also the second beneficiary this time is going to be the Saturday Night Alive show. Because of the last 30 shows, we've raised over $55,000 that we've given to nonprofit organizations and 15 fire victims. And we need some support around that to continue that going. And we'll share more about that later. But now we always love to start with music, because music really sets the vibration, raises the energy, opens up our heart, and connects us all. So we are going to start with an incredible music group, Kali's Angels. Now, these are 3 women who are professional musicians in their own right, but together they're amazing. They were really popular on the festival circuit for many years. They played my Harmony Festival many, many years. They feature Suzanne Sterling, Amy Carr, Lakshmi del Sesto. They're deeply passionate, dynamic, and they interweave vocal harmonies, powerful lyrics, melodies, and hypnotic rhythms. So we're so excited for them to start our show, Kali's Angels.
Hello, everyone. We are so excited to be here tonight. We're going to start with a song called Bliss Ma. No explanation necessary. Just let yourself have a moment of bliss, if you will.
Ask Deborah if she can hear you and give her the thumbs up. Oh, thank you so much, ladies. Ladies and the arm, you know, Collie's Angels. You know how you never saw Charlie? You just see the arm of Chris. That magical arm that makes all things happen. Thank you, ladies. The Angels are going to do 3 songs for us tonight throughout the show. And each one of them is an extraordinary artist in their own right. And so I want to acknowledge, the first one that we're going to acknowledge is Lakshmi Devi. You can find her at lakshmimusic.com. And here's her website. And I've known all 3 of these ladies for a long time, and their music is amazing. And Lakshmi has quite a history. You can get, I love her album, Raise the Holy Fire. She's got that song there. So definitely go to lakshmimusic.com. And thank you very much. Ladies, we look forward to seeing you a little bit later on in the show. So when we were putting this show together, and we were actually creating our whole season, I thought, wow, what are we going to do around November 3rd? I mean, obviously, November 3rd, Election Day this year might be the most significant day of the year, given all the dynamics. And we knew we wanted to do a show around election recovery. And we knew that if we were going to do such a thing, we had to see if Marianne Williamson would join us. And I'm so grateful that Marianne agreed to come back and be on the show again. I'm sure that almost all of you know Marianne, but I had the opportunity to watch these wonderful podcasts that she's been doing, where she's been focusing on some of the up and coming, the rising people. And she's really been putting her own spotlight on a lot of remarkable new people coming up in the political system. And I'm really grateful for you doing that, Marianne. And for anybody who doesn't know, Marianne has been a leader in spiritual and religious progressive circles for a long time, 3 decades. She's authored 14 books, 4 of which have been #1 New York Times bestsellers. She's advocated for reparations for slavery since the 90s, and she was the very first candidate in the 2020 presidential primary season to make it a pillar of her campaign. She has been a voice for truth and for combining our higher spiritual possibilities into probably the most difficult field, politics. So thank you so much, Marianne, for being with us. We're all very eager to hear what you have to say and to hear your prayer for peace.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Scott and Deborah and all of you. It's wonderful to be with you. And particularly, it's wonderful to be with you tonight. I think we all feel a need and we've all felt it with COVID, how much we really want to be with each other, how hardwired we are for community. And I think tonight with the announcement that there is a winner in the presidential contest, I think we all feel the need, let's go through this together. This is an extremely important ritual that our country has engaged in every 4 years since the Constitution was written in the 1780s. And this is when we all come together, and through that extraordinary process that in many circles is called group conscience, the will of the people prevails. We're not a perfect system, and we've certainly seen enough of that through the years, and we've seen enough of that in our own lifetime. But America does strive for perfection, and that is what is special about our country. Not that we have ever manifest or fully actualized or embodied the ideals upon which we stand, but that we do lay down those ideals and we work towards getting there, even though sometimes we move in the opposite direction. We started out as a country built upon what Lincoln would call the idea, predicated on the idea that all men are created equal. And the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence were not sacrificing, but they were risking their lives to sign that document. Because when they signed the Declaration of Independence, it was by signing, they were committing an act of treason against the King of England. And if the British had won that war, then those men would have been hanged. They would have been executed as traitors. So it was an extraordinary act that all of them were partaking in doing what they did by signing that document and laying down the principle that all men are created equal. No country had ever been founded on that idea. This was breaking from an aristocratic situation where there was one group of people who were deemed entitled to have the goods. All men were created equal, the document said, and God gave all men inalienable rights of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, and that the governments were instituted to secure those rights, and that if the government was not doing its job, it would be the right of the people to alter it or to abolish it. Those were extraordinary principles. But at the same time, out of the 56 signers of the Declaration, 41 of them were slave owners. So from the very, very beginning, it's in our DNA. It's a bipolar nature of the American character. We are both and. We are both a country that is posited on the idea that all men are created equal, that all men have the right to pursue happiness. That's why it shouldn't matter what your religion, it shouldn't matter what your color, it shouldn't matter what your ethnicity, it shouldn't matter what your sex, it shouldn't matter what your sexuality, it shouldn't matter what your beliefs, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. The idea that all people should have an opportunity to soar. Every generation has been filled with people whose hearts were ablaze with that idea. That is America, that principle. But at the same time, starting at the beginning, 41 of the people who signed that were slave owners. So we have always been in every generation, those in love with the idea and those who would actually violate the idea, stand against the idea. But the amazing thing about the United States is that over time, we tend to self-correct. We were slave owners, and then we had abolition, and we abolished slavery. We had institutionalized suppression of women, and then we had the women's suffragette movement and the 19th Amendment, and women were given the right to vote. We had segregation, institutionalized terrorism, really, against Black people. Then we dismantled segregation and had the Voting Rights Act. We had genocide against Native Americans, but you can see with Native Americans, you can see with racial issues now. It's not like you correct and then the job is complete. You abolish slavery, but then you still have segregation. You abolish segregation and you still have situations such as mass incarceration, racial disparity and sentencing, et cetera. So every generation writes a chapter in this long, ongoing book. And every generation includes within it, it is the story of every generation, our own iteration of that struggle. Now, every generation decides for itself, which of those two poles are we going to stand on in our time? And boy, that question is up for us now. With this election today, many Americans, millions and millions of Afghanis, millions of them feel that our last president, President Trump, who is now will no longer be president after after January 20th, that he did not represent the ideas of inclusion, the ideas of tolerance, the idea of accepting all people that millions of Americans feel is the core of who we are. Now, some people don't believe that. I know people who voted for Trump and don't see that in him. But that's what elections are about. Everybody gets to cast their vote, and then we count them. And just as 4 years ago, many of us were very, very upset at the election of Trump. Tonight, many, many people are upset at the election of Joe Biden. But that's what is America. We have elections. That's the whole point about democracy. And we accept that this person has become the expression, the election of this person has become the expression of the will of the people. Now, I didn't vote for Ronald Reagan and I didn't vote for either Bush, but one of the things I felt about them once they became president, even though I hadn't voted for them, I was not under the impression that they didn't care about me. I felt that they became this, it's almost a mystical thing that happens at the inauguration of a president. Something comes over these, until now, men. We'll see what happens in the future. And even though I didn't vote for Bush, the other Bush, or Reagan, once they became president, they were my president. And something happened where Republicans started to say, well, he's not. I remember Rush Limbaugh said about Clinton, your president, introduced this idea that somebody, I didn't elect him, therefore he's not my president. And I think we all have an emotional responsibility tonight. We all have a psychological responsibility tonight. I think that for many of us was the problem with this last president, this feeling that if we weren't one of his supporters, that we didn't matter, or we were enemies, whatever. So many of us have been scarred. So many of us have been hurt. So many of us have been scared. But tonight, we get to have a new beginning. You know, I'm going to have some disagreements with Joe Biden, but tonight, I just want to forgive everybody. Let's just forgive everybody tonight. Let's not doubt anybody's intentions tonight, because what has happened over the last 4 years, the vitriol, the anger, the meanness, the mean-spiritedness, it has poisoned the soul of America. We cannot continue like this. We simply cannot continue like this. Some of you voted for Joe Biden and you really like Joe Biden and you're excited. Some of you voted for Joe Biden, but it was more because you didn't want Donald Trump than that you voted for Joe. You were voting for, you have your disagreements with him, but you really want what you believe to be the fascist out of the White House, so you voted for him. And others of you voted for Trump and are very upset about Biden's election. But you know what? What matters is that we voted. That's what matters. And tonight, the most important thing we can do, the best thing we can do for our country, is to ask God to remove from us our anger at anyone for anything. I said tonight that I thought Joe Biden gave a beautiful speech. And then somebody else came on and how can you say this? I said, you know what? Not tonight. Not tonight. Let's take one night. And to say one night, and that's why I think Scott and Deborah doing this tonight is so important. Can we just interrupt? Whether you voted for Biden or you voted for Trump. I have one of the things that was I can see why God did it in my life. 2 close girlfriends, women that I really love, are Trump supporters, and I was not a Trump supporter. But you know what? It's really good that they're in my life. One of them, the way we handled it was we never discussed it. The other one, we really had to work on our relationship. We really had to work on it. We had to find where we could talk. We could find where, let's just not talk about politics. Then we found little places where we could talk and we could both control ourselves and talk without getting upset. And I said to her in an email recently, I said, I'm proud of us. I'm proud of us. We worked hard because we both, without saying this specifically to each other, was clear our relationship mattered to us. And with the other woman, where we're business colleagues, but close business colleagues, we didn't even go there. And I want to tell you something interesting about both of those women, interestingly enough. Even though they're both big Trump supporters, when I ran for president, of all my friends, they were 2 of the kindest. I was their girlfriend. They were kind to me. They cared about my experience as a human being. And I think for me, with both of those women, the thing that mattered the most, that continued to be so big for me, was these 2 women have cared about my child. I've known both of them since my daughter was a little girl. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let a political situation make me forget about the most important things in life. And that's, I think, what we owe our country, and that's what we owe each other tonight. When you talk about recovery, we do have a lot to recover from. This has been awful. And I know Trump people feel it's been awful. My girlfriend who voted for Trump said, well, you think it's bad? This is how we felt when Obama was president. And I say, what did he do? All that stuff. Doesn't matter. Tonight is the night to interrupt all that. Let's just take one night. There's so much emotion in this. There's so much emotion. And for those of us who did vote for Biden, which I certainly did, we've been tense for almost 4 years. And I know other people who voted for Biden, for Trump. I respect that. You might feel that tonight is the night you get tense. We're all human beings here. But tonight is the night for us to remember that our dedication should be to the country itself. The dedication should be to the principles on which we stand. Tonight should be, you know, somebody, I want to call this out. Somebody just put on the chat, Biden represents the antithesis and thorn, which spurs on my personal healing because he's so fraudulent. You know what? First of all, you heard nothing that I just said. That attitude tonight is a bigger problem than any political candidate. Not tonight. Not if we want to heal. You know, I've done so much marriage counseling in my career. And there's a place where you just pray for forgiveness, where you pray that a great wave of forgiveness comes upon us and lifts us above and beyond the walls that would divide us. You think he's fraudulent? Some of us think Trump's fascistic. Is that how we're going to go forward? When is it ever going to stop? Can we just take one night, the waters of forgiveness to just wash us clean? None of us are perfect. None of us have a monopoly on the truth. President Eisenhower, he was a Republican president, and he said, the American mind at its best is both liberal and conservative. There's a yin and a yang. He's so fraudulent. Those are the voices we don't need tonight. Tonight, I believe, whether you believe that or not, that he has the best of intentions. I believe that. I believe he's a decent person. And I don't agree with everything he stands for. I don't agree with everything he's done. But I was around him quite a bit during the campaign. This is a man who's lost 2 children, who's lost a wife finally. Can't we just tonight just assume the best of intentions about each other? And so I'm going to ask that you join with me and remember that America has 2. One of the things that Biden said in his talk tonight was, he referred to what Lincoln said about the better angels of our nature. If it was 200 years ago and you talked about, there was no modern psychology, Freud hadn't been born yet. And if you talked hundreds of years ago to someone about inclusion and kindness and tolerance and compassion and mercy and forgiveness, they would say, oh, you mean angels. And if you talked about meanness and judgmentalness and unkindness and cruelty, they would say, oh, you mean demons. And then we thought we were so smart, we left concepts like that behind. But what are those facets of our character, except the angels and the demons within us? Tonight, let's dedicate ourselves to the angels of our better nature. Tonight is not a night to say, well, I'm Democrat or I'm Republican or I'm Green or I'm Libertarian or I don't believe in the political system. Tonight is the night to remember we're Americans and we're never going to agree about everything, and we don't have to. In what relationship? In a marriage, in a love affair, are you going to agree about everything? Intimacy is about knowing how to navigate the fact that you're not always going to agree, not about the fact that you do always agree. So I just want to complete with a prayer for forgiveness for our country. I think all of us need it tonight. Dear God, we place our country in your hands, and we ask that a great wave of forgiveness wash us clean. May all the walls that would divide us, our judgments about each other, dear God, remove them tonight. We pray for Donald Trump and we pray for Joe Biden. We pray for them both. And we pray for all Americans. And we pray for our country, dear God, that has been so divided. May there be a miraculous healing now. Repair us, dear God. Make all our crooked places straight, heal our wounds, restore our decency and our love for each other. Tonight, break the chain. May we remember tonight that oneness which is your presence within us. In this we are united. We drop our judgment, we drop our blame, we drop our hatred. And in this moment of love, may miracles be called forth. And so it is. We all say, amen.
Marianne, before we show your website, as you talked about our founding fathers, I remembered a remarkable thing, which some people might not know. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson were bitter, bitter rivals. In fact, the very first time a sitting president lost a re-election campaign was when John Adams lost to Thomas Jefferson. Bitter rivals, and did you know that they both died on the same day, and that day was July 4th, 1826. You can look it up. They both died within hours of each other. And the reason I bring this up is that there was something about their polarity that crafted the Union. It took that polarity. And I really, truly like to believe that it was almost like they came in and they went out together and they did their job. And part of that job was debating with each other, was offering different perspectives, was having a different vision, the combination of which created our country. So sometimes there's a greater spiritual picture than we can imagine.
You know, not only did they both die 50 years to the day after the signing of the Declaration of Independence, but Jefferson died several hours before Adams. Jefferson died at Monticello, of course, in Virginia, and John Adams died in Massachusetts. Now, there were no telephones, et cetera, at that time. John Adams' last words were, he looked into the distance and he said, "Jefferson lives." Nobody knows. Now, there's another interesting thing about that. I think it was Adams to Jefferson. I think it was Jefferson. I think it was Adams to Jefferson. And it was after they were both no longer in office, the enemies that they had become, as you said. And one of them wrote to the other and said, let us die. Let us not die without having learned to, I can't remember if he said, love each other or forgive each other, and began a correspondence. Let us not die without our having come back together, because they'd begun as friends. And that began the correspondence and the long correspondence that got them back to that place. You know, there've been a lot of stories along that line. Jimmy Carter and Gerald Ford became very good friends. And of course, the senior Bush and Clinton. So yeah, there are a lot of interesting stories about how people, after they have been presidents, where they go in their hearts afterwards. Yeah. We need a little bit of them going into their hearts like that during, but you know.
Thank you so much. And there's some really important things that Marianne's going to be doing. I'm going to show a couple of her websites. Of course, you can learn all about Marianne and all that she's offering by going to marianne.com. And Marianne, you've got a new podcast series that you're going to be starting.
Thank you so much, Scott, for what you said about it earlier. You're right. I talked to Stephen Donziger on the podcast. Anand Girdadas. I talked to my colleague, I know many of you know her work very well, Carolyn Mace. This week, my podcast with Andrew Yang will be on. I'm going to have Bruce Lipton. There are going to be a lot of people from the metaphysical and spiritual, and also a lot of people from the social and political. Just people talking about the kind of changes that we need to make both outside and inside. And to me, this is what I feel very strongly about. You know, we understand in medicine, we embrace the holistic perspective that healing is of the mind and the body and the heart. And I think a civilization, the healing of civilization is also that, the mind and the body and the heart. That's kind of like what we were talking about tonight. Yes, we need political changes and everybody argues about what those are, but we also need a healing of the heart. And that's why I want in this, I'm calling the podcast Conversations That Matter. Martin Luther King had said, your life begins to end on the night you stop talking about things that matter. So I hope that you listen to the podcast and feel, wow, that was a conversation about something that matters. And I hope you feel it's something inspiring and something that you learned from.
Marianne, you also have a really exciting virtual event coming up on November 20th and 21st. And again, people can find out about this either by going to your website, marianne.com, or going straight to womenswisdomweekend.com. Marianne, tell us a little bit about what this is going to be.
Well, I'm very excited about that, Scott. You know, that's another thing that I learned a lot from my own run this last year. I tell you, the chains that bind most women in our society, women in America, for the most part, are not dealing anymore with external chains that bind us. We have the right to vote. We have the right in many situations outside of us to do things that women even today in other places do not have the right to do. But misogyny is in the head. The idea that women aren't quite as good is not just in men's heads, it's in a lot of women's heads as well. The attitudes that hold us back. And one of the things that I've seen in my life, I've seen it in other women, but I've seen it in my life. I saw it in my life in this campaign, is that there was a certain point where I wouldn't give myself permission to go forward. And I see that that is what holds a lot of women back. Ultimately is I don't give myself permission. It's not that the society isn't giving me permission. I'm not giving myself permission to own all that I could be. I'm so scared. I'm going to stop right here so no one will hate me. I'll stop right here so I won't be embarrassed. I'll stop right here so I won't humiliate myself. You know, I read somewhere that for a woman to feel confident to express her opinion about something, she has to feel 80% sure of her facts. And then it said that for a man to feel confident to share his opinion, he has to feel 20% sure of his facts. And I thought, you know, that's probably true. Just the things that sometimes keep women from speaking our truth. And I think that's so important. That's why I call this women's wisdom in times of crisis, because this is not a time for us to be quiet about things that matter most. And I think all of us, I believe in cellular memory. And I think that women do have a memory of witch burnings, a time when whether people were women were midwives, people were nurses, they were called witches, the wise women. And I don't know a more horrible way to die than to be burned at the stake, and hundreds of thousands of women were. So it will be a Friday night and a Saturday. Also, some of my wonderful colleagues will be joining us at little points throughout the day. Lynn Twist will be with us, Claire Zamet, Marcy Scheimoff, Ariel Ford, which will be really, really exciting. And it's a time, and men are certainly invited, but it's a time to really dig deep and inquire in ourselves. What is holding me back? With the real knowledge that when you hold back your own gifts, your own wisdom, your own strength, and your own power, to that extent, you are holding back the world. And this is not time for anybody to be holding back right now. It's time for all of us to share our gifts. It's time for all of us to soar, all of us to actualize our own God-given potential, not just for our sake, but for the sake of the entire world. So I hope you'll join me for that weekend.
Thank you so much, Marianne. And yes, let's all join her weekend. Let's listen to her podcasts. Thank you, Marianne, for all the work you're doing. Thank you for coming on to our show today.
God bless you. I'm honored that you invited me. Thank you.
I want to mention one last way that you can get more Marianne, and that is our good friend Ken Kaufman is doing his first virtual show. Of course, Ken has been a really important friend of ours. And so the New Living Expo is going digital. And so Marianne is going to be one of the featured speakers, along with really almost all the people you're looking at have been on our show, Reverend Michael, John Gray, Laura Eisenhower, and so on and so forth. Janyan Brinkley was just on last week. So definitely go to newlivingexpo.com and register to be part of the virtual workshop that our good buddy Ken Kaufman's going to be doing that will be featuring Marianne. And now to turn it over to talk about our next speaker, I'm turning it back over to my partner, Deborah.
Thank you, Scott. And thank you, Marianne, for always speaking my heart and our souls together. Really appreciate you. And this is another speaker when we sat down to think about this very special show and what we wanted to have that we feel represents the voice of our new paradigm. Charles Eisenstein is a teacher, speaker, writer, and he focuses on the themes of civilization, consciousness, money, and human cultural evolution. He's the author of several books, including Sacred Economics, The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible, and Climate, A New Story. And he always seems to really hit the pulse of what we need to know and let us see things in a new way. So that's why we wanted to invite him tonight. Charles, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for such a kind introduction, Deborah. Really happy to be here. Hopefully everybody can hear me, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, good, all right. Yeah, I think I'll just pick up a little bit on some of what Marianne was saying. Especially what really stuck in my mind was let's not doubt other people's intentions, at least just for one night. Because certainly we're seeing in the public sphere an awful lot of caricatures of the opponent, which by the nature of caricature brings out the most grotesque and superficial aspects of them and blinds the viewer to the subtle and the beautiful. So we're presented with these exaggerated caricatures of the very worst elements of the other side and invited to hate them. Now, this hate actually is a perversion of a deeper energy that's a precious, a sacred energy called anger. The anger is the result of our confinement in a world that we recognize is so much less than it could be, and a result of violation, repeated violation, either directly or to our ancestral lines. And this is the case with people of every race, every sexual orientation. And from a feeling of betrayal as well. So I want to talk a bit about, but first I wanted to also say that the importance of holding somebody in the benefit of the doubt, because the stories that we tell about other people or even about the world are an invitation for those people to enact the roles that story assigns them. So if we see somebody as horrible, as deplorable, as racist, as selfish, as irredeemable, then we're going to relate to them as such, and we're not going to create any possibility of them appearing any different in our experience. The only way to relate to them when you've written them off is to try to dominate them in a pitched battle, because you've already said that they're deplorable and irredeemable. So how is the world going to get better when team evil is in the way? Well, we're going to have to overcome them, we the partisans of team good. And this is actually, this way of seeing the world has a certain comfort in it. The comfort alleviates the discomfort of watching our systems of meaning and sense-making fall apart. And this is not something that has just started happening in the last year with COVID or the last 4 years with the election of Donald Trump. The basic ambition and narrative, and even I would say mythology of our culture has been disintegrating over my entire lifetime. No longer do we have total confidence that the world is getting better and better, that each generation is going to be better off than the last, that disease is going to succumb to the onward march of medicine, that American democracy will enlighten the world and will bring freedom to all corners of the earth. None of these ambitions really compel us anymore. And the understanding that it gave us, that story gave us of who we are and why we're here and what progress is and how to live a meaningful life by joining in that's all been falling apart, especially given the ecological crisis. Like, it's really hard to say that, yeah, we know how to do this thing. So this failure of our deep stories, ultimately coming down to the story of control, the story of domination, the story of rising above nature, the failure of these stories has cast us into an identity crisis. The world seems to be flying out of control. We don't understand it. And it impacts many people directly as well, in the form of economic hopelessness or burdens or crushing debt, or general hopelessness or illness, chronic disease. I mean, that's another thing that's happened over my lifetime. The prevalence of chronic disease has gone up. And so here we are wondering, trying to make sense of the world. And in that vulnerable position of uncertainty, we're offered narratives like, drawing on Hollywood even, that say, okay, here's how to solve the problem. Here's the explanation for the world. It's bad people running amok. And here's the solution to defeat, destroy, and dominate those bad people. So if we want something else, and I have this image of like the ship of state, the ship of our civilization in a tidal pool, in a whirlpool, getting sucked down. And maybe if we all get on the oars and start pulling on the oars in unison, we can get out of this whirlpool. But instead, no one's even at the oars. We're fighting on deck or pulling in all different directions. Like, this is, and this is why I'm so grateful and happy to be on this program. This is the biggest crisis facing civilization right now, bigger than climate change, bigger than the possibility of nuclear Armageddon. It is the crisis in our coherence with each other, because when we come into coherence around a new story, anything is possible. None of our problems are that difficult. And so that coherence begins on the personal level by waging peace, by doing what Marianne said, to look for the best in other people, to understand what is it like to be you, to exercise compassion, especially against those that we judge the most. And this is not to say, this is not the same as letting somebody off the hook or allowing violent behavior to continue. Because sometimes someone might say, well, Charles, it's easy for you, a white man, privileged white male, to call for compassion for the perpetrators. But the victims, they need compassion even more, don't they? And to that I say, compassion for the victims requires compassion for the perpetrators. Because unless your prescription is to crush the perpetrators once and for all, we're going to be a lot more effective in ending the perpetration if we understand their condition, if we understand where they're coming from, and we can meet their condition. To understand it requires that we don't simply go to war against a projection of who they are. And I see right and left doing this in the present moment. Someone I know posted this little post on social media saying, whether you voted for Biden or Trump, you're still my fellow human and I love you. And like hundreds of hateful comments to that message. Why? Because the other side doesn't deserve love. Because if you love them, then you're not going to be as effective a warrior. So what this is a recipe for is endless war, not for healing. And it perpetuates the status quo. So to let go of that actually requires some courage. First, because in wartime, pacifists are more hated than the enemy. Because the enemy actually validates your identity as the good guy. But the pacifist says, actually, maybe this whole setup is not the full truth. The second reason it requires courage is that probably you're going to have to let go of some of your own certainty, some of your own identity with being right and being smart and being good. And where does that courage come from? So I look to myself. When have I been able to admit that I was wrong? When have I been able to really listen, to walk into the other person's camp and listen to their views on their own terms, not my side's depiction of them? I'm running out of time here. Yeah. Yes. But to take them on their own terms. When do I feel safe to do that? It's when I know that I'm accepted, when I know that I'm loved, when I know that it's safe to be wrong. And this is something that we can do for each other, which really speaks to the necessity of a global peace tribe. Yeah, I think I will pause right there. And I have no idea how much time I took, but trying to be mindful of that. So,
well, I haven't been keeping track of the time either, because I've been so enthralled with what you're saying. And I'm so appreciating what you're bringing up about being pacifists, because I think most of the people who are attracted and are watching this are people of peace, people that want to foster compassion and peacefulness. And so what you're sharing is very, very important, Charles. I guess, are there any tools you want to offer to when any of us are confronted with someone who's being violent in their thinking, violent in their words? How do you manage that?
Yeah, I look for the pain underneath. Where is the violence coming from? What hurts? And what is it like to be you? There might be times where, maybe I would meet violence with defense or protection or running away, but usually there's another response. When I can understand where it's coming from, then I can meet the conditions. I can be part of the healing of the wound underneath it. Like, this is what we have to understand. I'm writing a piece about QAnon, who's, they're widely reviled and caricaturized as, these incels, involuntary celibates, these, white men in their parents' basement, seething with resentment, thinking that they're entitled to sex and hating women, And I'm like, okay, that's the caricature. What is the reality? What is it really like to be that person? And what happened to that cute little baby that made him grow up into that? Like, to really ask these questions, to step into the unknown, that's my practice. What it really comes down to one sentence: what is it like to be you? Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Charles. You bring such a beautiful balance. I'm always intrigued by, somebody asked a little bit about your background and the combination of philosophy and mathematics, right? And there is a way that you have a practical spirituality that I really, really appreciate. So thank you very, very much. And people can get a lot more of Charles by going to his website. And it's a very easy website to remember because it's his name. And I'm going to bring it up here. It's charleseisenstein.com. And Charles, what are some of the things people are going to find on your website? What would you like people, where do you want to point people? Of course, obviously, giving your email address. Anything else you want to point to?
Well, there it is. There's a beautiful little short course I made with Orland Bishop, who's a dear friend and one of probably the most profound mystic and peace worker that I know. But yeah, all kinds of whatever, videos, essays, things like that on my website.
Thank you very much, Charles. I've been watching a lot of the chat, and a lot of people are just really resonating a lot with what you're saying. So thank you for bringing your peacefulness, your wisdom. Thank you for being with us on this very important evening. Thank you.
Thanks.
Namaste. I want us to just drop in for a moment into our hearts, because one of the things that we've been doing on this show began as a fundraiser for our dear friend Fantuzzi, who ironically is going to be one of our musicians playing later tonight. And as it grew and it grew and it grew, Deborah and I continued to maintain the idea of raising money. And I'm very proud to say that we've raised tens of thousands of dollars, probably well over $50,000 or $60,000 now, for many very valuable nonprofit organizations. And then the wildfires hit. And for the most part, for the last few months, we've been supporting people who lost their homes in wildfires. I want to introduce you to a new friend of ours, an important member of our community. This is Crystal. And Crystal, I'm going to show some photos that Crystal provided us. These are photos taken a little while ago of her home, living in Talent, Oregon. And just as we drop in, it's our home. It's a home, right? And then this is what that looks like now. That home, that same driveway we were just looking at, this is what it looks like now. I'm guessing that the pink is fire retardant that had been dropped.
Yeah, it is.
And so just remembering that this is real. People lost their homes, and Crystal is who is our primary recipient tonight. And so please be generous with the GoFundMe. Again, just go to GoFundMe, put in Global Peace Tribe, and we're going to be supporting Crystal tonight. Crystal, thank you for joining us. And I know that you've actually had a double whammy. You lost your home, and then you recently, I think 2 days ago, lost a friend.
Yes. Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for you, Scott, and Deborah for having me on the show, and also for just the work that you're doing. This feels like a really important conversation that we're having tonight. And I just want to thank you for being here. And yes, losing my home on September 8th, and then actually losing a friend in the last couple of days. I'm in my new space right now. I just got moved in less than a week ago. Yeah.
What can you, like, how are you managing these enormous changes, because you become an inspiration for us, and it doesn't mean that you have to give a solution, but just sharing human to human. We're all spiritual beings, but we're having a human experience, and right now your human experience is especially challenging. How are you managing it?
I have the company of really good friends and really good community, and that's why I think it's so nice to be introduced to this Global Peace Village. Community has been everything, and finding out about even just the opportunity to rebuild my life here and raise money. I've just been welcomed with open arms into so many different facets of the Talent, Ashland, Phoenix area. So many people that have been impacted and also are volunteering. There's just been this really beautiful exchange of energy and volunteering and giving and gifting. And I would say those are the parts that make me feel whole again as I navigate all the disparate kind of realities of having to reassemble, getting clothing donations. What does it mean to find used shoes, or no longer have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that got me through grad school? That's how I paid for grad school. So it's balancing some of those kind of bigger things, and then coming back to community and the help and the support that I've received that's been so beautiful. And then when you lose a loved one, going to another community tomorrow to honor and remember such a beloved friend who, so I keep coming back to, it's all about the connections with and intimacy with people that are meaningful to me in my life, helping ease the trauma of what's been happening. It's really hard and devastating to drive through these communities here. It really does look like a type of war zone. So then it's like kind of bringing yourself back into balance and finding your peace and your place again. So that's pretty challenging. Yeah.
Thank you. And again, we are the Global Peace Tribe. We are all coming together in community. when I was doing my sound and light check with Crystal, I learned a little bit more about her profession, and she's wanting to expand out. So my personal gift is I'm giving her a full scholarship to the Next Love Coach Academy mentorship program and relationship essentials training. So it's going to be great to have you in our course, Crystal.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a beautiful gift. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
And again, you know, let's all come together. Let's all support each other. So go to gofundme.com and just type in Global Peace Tribe, and that's where you'll find where you can donate. And to be honest, this is going to be the last week that we are running our GoFundMe. One of the things, this all evolved so quickly, and we didn't take into account what our tax liability was going to be. We didn't realize the depth of tax liability, even when we were giving to nonprofit organizations or GoFundMe. So from now on, after this week, we're going to go have people donate directly to nonprofit organizations. It'll be tax deductible for you that way, and also going straight to people's GoFundMes. So this is our last time doing a GoFundMe in this way. So please, your money tonight will be supporting Crystal. And also, to be honest, we're going to put some of it aside for the tax liability that we've built up. And
I add one more thing I forgot to mention. It just felt like such an important learning lesson in my own life, which was pretty devastating, is that there were many of us that were underinsured and we didn't know. And so I just want to take this opportunity, since there are so many viewers here tonight, to make sure that you're adequately insured. Wildfires are a thing on the Pacific Northwest now, and to call your insurance brokers and make sure that you have the coverage that you need, because I will get less than half of what I should have been entitled to. And I am not the only person that's facing this reality. So it is my prayer that everyone go out and they call their insurance brokers and they make sure that they have adequate coverage in the event that they do have a wildfire. So
thank you. And this is part of living in California and Oregon and Washington now.
Yes.
The Pacific Coast, living here means wildfire season for 3 or 4 months. It's part of the new reality. So yeah. I am so grateful that Kali's Angels are with us. These 3 ladies, the music is so precious to me. I had the opportunity to travel with them a lot when they were playing quite frequently. And so we asked them to come up with a special song to play right after meeting you, Crystal. So I'm turning it over to the Angels. And again, while you listen to their beautiful music, please go to GoFundMe and be generous in your donations. Take it away, Angels. And the Arm of Love.
So we want to sing this song by Lisa Teal. It's a song about an ancient goddess who learns to accept and be conscious about death, rebirth, and the cycle of all things. We offer this up as a prayer for all victims of the fires. I am the daughter of the ancient mother. I am the child of the mother of the world. I am a daughter of the ancient mother. I am the child of the mother of the world. I am your daughter, oh ancient mother. I am your child, oh mother of the world. I am your daughter, oh ancient mother. I am your child, oh mother of the world. Oh, we nana, oh, we nana, oh, we nana. It is you who teaches us to die, be reborn, and rise again. Die, be reborn, and rise again. Die, be reborn, and rise. I am your daughter of the ancient mother. I am the child of the mother of the world. I am your doctor, oh ancient mother. I am your child, oh mother of the world. Oh, we nana, oh, we nana, oh, we nana. It is you who teaches us to die, be reborn and rise again. 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 Die, be reborn. Die, be reborn. Die, be reborn. Die, be reborn. I am the daughter of the ancient mother. I am the child of the mother of the world. I am your daughter, oh ancient mother. I am your child, oh mother of the world.
What a perfect song for that situation. And let's just all hold a prayer for Crystal. And Crystal, you represent so many people who have lost. So blessings to you. May you and all who have lost loved ones, lost homes, rise up again. God bless you. Whew. I also want to acknowledge that the proper name or the proper website for Lakshmi is lakshmi.net. So it should be that. And we'll go back and show it a little bit later. And we'll, at the end of the Angels 3 songs, we will go to all 3 of the websites. Well, it is time for some magic. And we are blessed. Paul Draper has become one of our favorite magicians. He's been on the show a few times now. And really, really great to have you back with us, Paul. For those of you who don't remember or know, Paul's a comedy presenter, a mind reader, and a speaker who's appeared on the History Channel, A&E, HBO, Hallmark, the Travel Channel, HTV. Wow. He's been on a lot of shows. He's appeared with David Copperfield, Lance Burden, Teller of Penn and Teller as an expert for the History Channel, and he's performed for HBO's Comedy Fest at Caesar's Palace. He even hosted a companion documentary for Steven Spielberg's Poltergeist. But today he's with us live, and I believe he's got some magic. Take it away, Paul.
Yay! Yay! Oh, thank you so much for letting me come on and play. Yes, I do. So this is the thing. I have a bachelor's degree in anthropology and a master's of political rhetoric. So when people say don't talk politics and religion, they're the only things I'm qualified to talk about. But I'm going to avoid getting into any serious subjects. But I do want to talk a little bit. This is a bit American-centric right here. Right here in this bag, I have 3 colors. I have blue, I have red, I have white. We could make multiple flags from multiple countries. There's nothing else in there, nothing else in there. Now, look, this is what it is it takes all of us to make things work. It takes everyone's perspective. That's the key, is we have to make sure that we have everybody's perspective included. And if we do that and everybody's included all together, then it comes out perfect, just like, oh, wait, sorry. I apologize. Hold on. So we have to get everybody's perspective here all together, all of us working together. We have the red, we have the blue, we have the independents. Everybody works together. And suddenly America is perfect. Okay, so it's not perfect the first time. Sometimes we have to work and struggle and work together and change the flag and come up with new ideas and take in everyone's perspective so that we can be whole and right together again.
Wow.
Thank you so much for letting me share that bit. Do we have time for one more bit of fun?
Absolutely,
Okay.
But only if you use one of our panelists.
I'd love to. Who do we have to be willing to help?
I'm nominating Lori Ladd.
Lori? Hi, Lori. Say hi.
I'm not Lori, but I'll be
Hello.
Lori.
Are you Lori?
I'm Lori.
Lori. Hi, Lori. Good to see you. Where are you at?
California.
California. What are you passionate about, Lori?
Animals.
Animals. I love animals. Okay, I'm gonna have you help me here, Lori. First, I have something here. What kind of animals do you have?
I don't have any animals.
No animals. Oh, I've been watching all the animal documentaries on Disney Plus. Go watch those. It is emotionally fulfilling, especially the ones in the Australian Zoo. Okay, so keep me spotlit, and I'll just talk to Lori at a distance, but have me spotlit so it doesn't come off of me. Lori, I have a little teacup, empty teacup. I have a little red ball, Lori. Little ball, little teacup. Balls in the teacup. This is where I need your help, Lori. Is I have the little ball in the teacup. I'm going to take it out of the teacup, put it into my pocket. Lori, where is the ball right now? Under the cup or in my pocket?
In your pocket.
Lori, you did such a good job. Let's spotlight me so it just stays to me and doesn't jump from me to Lori. Can we do that technically?
Actually, you should be on both. Right now, the view is on both of you.
It's jumping back and forth for people on iPad and things, but it's okay. We'll do it just like this. Here's the little red ball. I'll put it back in the little cup just like that. Now, Lori, it's in the little cup. I take it out of the cup, put it in my pocket, clearly in my pocket. I appreciate that you believe me and you are willing to be honest with me. Not under the cup, in my pocket. But if you want it under the cup, Lori, wiggle your fingers just like this. You can make it happen just like that. And suddenly, there it is right there underneath the cup. Here, let's do it one more time. Do you see it right there under the cup? Okay, we take it right there under the cup, put it in the cup. It's right there in the cup. Take it out of the cup, put it in my pocket. Out of my pocket, right there into my hand. Lori, wiggle your fingers at my hands just like that. 3, 2, 1, gone. Not in the hand, not under the cup either. The little particles are floating around through space right now, floating around all over. Not under the cup, floating around. Now wiggle your fingers at the cup. Ready? 3, 2, 1, and there it is. You were able to manifest that little bit of music right there by making it reappear where you wanted. Look, we're all working together and the world seems a little bit strange and magical right now. We feel that we have some deep understanding of where all the connections are and how everything's connected and how everything works, and that things may be working the way we expect or may be working in a way that we don't understand or we don't expect or that we don't like. But the truth is, look, right now at this moment, we can look and break it open and we don't have control over it. We don't have control over how these things work, and it's not our job to. Our job is to take care of our day-to-day, take care of the people that we love, take care of our own hearts, and do the best in the world that we can each day. And that's just a little magic moment, and I'll be back later to share some more with you. If you want to find out more about me and my virtual shows, pauldraper.com.
Absolutely. And there it is. There's his website. And
there's paulwdraper.com. You can get me there, or at just pauldraper.com. I now own both.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. And yes, Paul's going to be back, and thank you for giving us some beautiful fun and perspective. And now I'm turning it back over to my partner, Deborah.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Paul. We always love having you on to raise the energy there. And now we get to introduce you to an incredible woman. And when these challenging times happen, it's always really important to go to spirituality, go within, go to the higher vision, and see what's really going on from the higher perspective. Lori Ladd is an ascension teacher, and she's a multidimensional channel. She provides assistance and understanding in our evolution and states of consciousness. She's dedicated her life to assisting humanity in this planetary shift. She connects with the Galactic Federation of Light. She provides daily messages and guidance, navigating our ascension from 3D to 5D. And most of all, she reminds humanity of who they are and the power of their light to shift the human collective. So Lori, we're so happy to have you with us. You did a pre-show with us, which was great. And we'd love to hear what you have to share with us now. Lori Ladd.
Thanks, Deborah. Thanks, Scott. Thank you guys for having me on. Such an amazing day to be here and to be talking about this shift in consciousness. So what I want to talk about tonight is how we are in the midst of moving through a massive shift in consciousness and recognizing our sovereignty and the power and importance of our sovereignty as we are watching ourselves move through this shift. So there's an individual shift that's happening, and there's a collective shift that's happening. Frequencies are moving from a lower vibration to a higher vibration. And one of the things that we're learning how to do is how to unify in a divided field. And when we shift into higher states of consciousness, anything that is in a lower state of consciousness has to either be dissolved, alchemized into light, or it has to shift along with us. Systems, programs, paradigms, they're either going to dissolve away or they're going to come with us. And the divide that we have as a one unified human collective is something that has to be alchemized. So we have to learn how to unify while we are standing in a divide. And one of the ways that we learn how to do that is we understand sovereignty. So what sovereignty means is that we are a being of light and physicality, and that we vibrate out of frequency, and every human is vibrating out of frequency, and they're in a sovereign field. And the way you find your sovereign field is you move into your body. And when you move into your body, you understand that you have choice. You understand that you have a truth. You understand that you have a frequency. You understand that you're safe. And you understand that every other human is experiencing that exact same thing. They're experiencing their own truth. They're experiencing their own frequency. They're experiencing their own choices. And the more and more that we increase our frequency, the more and more we're going to recognize that we are all sovereign humans standing in this huge arena, learning how to navigate everybody else's sovereignty, allowing everyone to have their sovereignty as we unify this field, which means I'm going to have a truth, that person's going to have a truth, and these truths are designed to be held in this one unified field. So there's a couple of steps. I have 5 steps that I want to share with everyone in terms of how do I move into my sovereignty? How do I find my sovereignty when I'm about to get into an argument with somebody? How do I find my sovereignty when I'm not agreeing? How do I get into sovereignty? How do I practice it? The first step is you have to move into your body. The only way you can feel your truth, the only way you can feel that you have a choice, the only way that you can feel your frequency is that you move into your body. You become embodied. And the way you do that is with breath. So you want to feel your breath. That's the first step. Second step is you want to feel. So as soon as you come into your body, you're going to start to feel. You're going to have more emotions. You're going to have more thoughts and beliefs and behaviors that you're going to start to recognize. You're going to become quite the feeler as you move into the body and become this sovereign being. And you're also going to feel your frequency as you're moving around, right? So you want to start to feel what's happening, what's coming in, what you're feeling. The third thing is you want to start to observe. I am feeling ... I am thinking ... I am doing ... Instead of I am this emotion, I am this thought, I am this belief, I am this behavior. You're now becoming the observer, and you're recognizing that you're just playing the human role. You're in physicality. You're in a contained sovereign container, and you're watching yourself. You're observing yourself. The fourth thing is you want to ask yourself, is this coming from me, or is this coming from the external? And the reason you want to ask yourself that is because when you become sovereign, you recognize that everything comes from within. Everything comes from inside. Knowledge, truth, power, wisdom, light, love, all of it. Your truth, it all comes from inside. So we've been programmed to use the external to provide for us everything, right? And so when you start to become sovereign, you want to ask, is this coming from the external, or is this coming from within me? And the fifth thing you want to do is you want to start to choose. You want to start to choose what you're going to do, how you're going to respond, what you're going to listen to, how you're going to react or respond to the trigger that you may be feeling. All of it is a choice. There's no more victimhood. So as soon as you come into your body, find your breath, as soon as you start to feel, as soon as you become the observer, as soon as you start to ask, is this mine or is this the external? You then begin to choose. And as soon as you start choosing, you have power, you're empowered, you have a voice, you have your truth, you have empathy, you have compassion, you have love. You have all of this contained right here. You're safe and you're free. And when you start feeling sovereign, you are no longer pointing the finger at others. You are no longer blaming others. You are no longer belittling or bullying others. You are able to stand in one huge, massive third dimensional arena right now, allowing everybody to have their human experience in their sovereign fields, in their bodies, whether they realize it or not, because you're experiencing it yourself. When you can experience it, you realize that even if the other person can't, there will be a day where they can. And you unify from that space. It all comes back to you. It's all right here, always, always. And when you can love this, when you can love this experience, when you can love all of you, it's a lot easier to hold love and compassion and empathy for everyone else. And that's what we're learning. We're learning how to stand in this and how to love, have compassion, and have empathy for everybody else's experience. All of it, even when we don't agree, right? That's what we learn. So sovereignty is key. It's massively important right now to learn this sovereignty. It's a big step in shifting into higher states of consciousness. So there you go.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lori, for just providing us with such beautiful wisdom. And I think you really, again, you're summing it up so lovely to help us keep bringing it back to self, bringing it back to self. Thank you. And we can learn a lot more about Lori. She's got a lot going on. Her website is Lori Ladd. It's her name, the way that she spells it. And so everybody please go to LORIELADD. That's Lori Ladd, spelled LORIELADD.com. And what are some things that we're seeing here? What tell us a little bit about your online community. I'm clicking on it. Tell us about that, Lori.
I have an online community, and it's through Patreon, and I offer 4 to 6 live events a month. I show up live, and we do meditations, we do guided journeys with higher dimensional beings, we do Q&As, we have channeled messages that come in, and I offer some free sessions for the community members. It's also just a really great community to come together right now as we are navigating this massive shift in consciousness. We all get to come together and be like, okay, we're not crazy. We're not losing our minds. This is just how we shift an entire human collective, and we're rock stars and we got it. So it's an awesome community. I love it a lot. So
beautiful. Yeah. And you grab my attention higher, tell us a little bit about some of the higher frequencies or beings or consciousness that comes in.
Yeah, every month we always bring in a specific higher dimensional light being. So sometimes it's Palladian or Arcturian or Syrian, whoever kind of wants to come in and share messages for whatever we're going through. And it's always a surprise. I never know until the morning of, but it's always so nice, especially when we're so third dimensional and physical, and we're so in our heads that when they come in, it's like you just went to Hawaii for like a vacation. You're like, oh my God, this feels so good. Like this is heaven. And they just bathe us with light and love, and they cheer us on, and you leave like, oh, I'm a rock star. I can do this human life. I got it. So it's always nice to hang out with them. They're just magic. They're us, but we forgot because we're in physicality. So they remind us of who we are.
Well, thank you, Lori, for helping us to remember who we are. A lot of what you're saying dovetails with what Marianne was saying towards the end of her program. And it is important for us, even though we're spiritual beings having a human experience, we get lost in this illusion to remember who we truly are in a beautiful way. And you're doing a wonderful job with that. Thank you. And I hope you'll come back on the show again sometime.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks. And thank you for participating in the magic. All right. There's a lot of different ways that Deborah and I and Shariah and the team putting this together are really trying to get as much information out to people through our speakers, through our presenters, through magicians. And I'm going to invite on a friend of mine who I've known for quite a while, and this is Jeff Ringgold. So welcome, Jeff. And Jeff is very dedicated to health. His own personal health, but also really understanding how important health is to all of us. And he has created something very, very important. He's very involved with the health campaign. He's kind of the founder of it. And I'm going to have him, tell us more. And then we're going to take you to a website, and we're going to ask everyone to sign a petition. I've immediately signed it, and we're going to ask all of you to sign it. Deborah's going to put the link into our chat box for those of you on Zoom. It's really cool. We've got over 400 people who have been in our Zoom room tonight and thousands watching on Facebook. So thank you, Deborah, for popping the link in there. And welcome, Jeff. I know, just before you're about to take that drink of water, go ahead. Take the drink of water.
It's all right. Go ahead. I can't see what you're seeing, so I don't know when the camera's on me, and that's just fine.
Well,
but anyway,
camera's been on you for a bit.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I want to start by saying that, I have friends who are no longer friends because of the election. I have friends who are no longer friends because they had different views about COVID and masks and so on and so forth. I have one friend who lost several family members to COVID, whether that was with COVID or because COVID, however one's perspective. They're no longer with us. And many people who are hurting economically and emotionally in the lockdown, being separated from each other. And I want to invite us all to just stop for a moment and consider, whatever one's perspective, what if in just 45 seconds, we could do something to move us forward to the unity that we've been talking about? Not only abstractly or in a spiritual sense, but also tangibly. The genesis of this petition was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and realizing that there was an opportunity, whether you're pro-mask or anti-mask or pro-vaccines or anti-vaccines or really whatever your perspective is, if we were able to strengthen human immunity in the face of viruses, respiratory viruses, COVID-19, what would the benefit be, both in saving lives and also in enabling us to restart the economy and connect socially again more safely and more quickly. So a team of us dove in for a few hundred hours of research to see what exists in the terms of empirical evidence for natural, free or low cost approaches to health. What impact exists, or has been proven already for solutions that can strengthen our immune system for respiratory viruses. And it turns out there's a bunch of stuff that we already know about, many of us know about. And then the thought was, well, what if that became a matter of public policy? What if we actually had the government putting out educational and research materials, enabling people to strengthen their immune systems, whatever else they do with allopathic medicine? Vitamin D deficiency, sunshine, fresh air, air quality that you create in your own home and your own neighborhood, sleep hygiene, stress management, many solutions that we already know about, several of which we know reduce the incidence, severity, and mortality due to respiratory viruses by 50% or more each. Now, that is not something we hear our health officials talking about. It's not something we hear the media talking about. And so, we started to see this as a tremendous opportunity that in 45 seconds, by signing a petition, that we can present to policymakers, and we know some policymakers who are potentially amenable to this and may be willing to carry water for this, to take this to the public policy level, to actually make it a matter of public policy so that we focus not only on curing disease, but also on creating health. It was Marianne Williamson who, during the presidential campaign, and I know people have different political perspectives, one thing she said that resonated with a lot of people was, she said, we have a sickness care system rather than a healthcare system. And people on all sorts of places on the political spectrum responded very positively to that. So this is something that we can do to move things forward. Whether you think COVID came from bats or was invented in a lab, whether you think Bill Gates is here to save us or he's the devil incarnate, whatever your view on that, this is something tangible that we can do to come together for the health of people that can save lives and livelihoods, and also chart a new course for health in the United States and potentially globally. So that's the idea of it.
Jeff, thank you so much. And I have, while we've been listening to you, I've kind of got the camera on you, but also on the health campaign. So people who have been looking at the petition, and everybody, please, I want to encourage you. We're about to go to our next musical act. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is to please, while you're listening to Fantuzzi play music, go to the petition and please sign the petition. This is very, very important. I've known Jeff for quite a while. I respect him a great deal. And honestly, he's put a lot of his own time and money into making this thing happen, building the websites, creating the petition. And, Jeff's he's not a wealthy guy. He's one of us who's just hard worker who really believes in how important it is for us to increase our health. So thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate what you're doing. Everybody, please sign the petition.
I'm just saying one tiny thing is just,
sure.
I encourage people, if we have a sense that love and compassion and empathy and unity is what we want to do, just to find tangible ways to express that. This is just one of those, but finding ways to really walk that. So thank you for being here. I do consider myself rich. I consider myself fortunate financially in life and in friendship and community. Let's move this forward.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jeff. And I know we'll see you again soon. Thank you. All right. I am now putting the spotlight on the Fantuzzi team, Team Fantuzzi, and we're going to do a 30-second just quick sound check to make sure the sound is good. Are you guys ready to just do 30 seconds and I'll let you know how you sound.
1, 2, 3. It's the people, not the politicians. My friend who can save the earth. It's the people and not the leaders. Oh Lord, know what it's worth.
You guys sound great. We aren't hearing the drums in the back much. Guitar and vocals sound terrific. So that's the only slight difference, but you look great, you sound great. So take it away, guys and gal.
Want to give you know, a shout out to all the people who work hard to make a change happen, and change is what we need, and change is what we love, as long as it's positive. So for the healing of the nation and for the healing of the people, for love and for peace, here's a song for you. 1, 2. It's the people, not the politicians, my friends who can save the earth. It's the people and not the leaders. Oh Lord, you know what it's worth. Well, I came to America, see what I could see. Woo! Learning to be myself, and here with this sweet family. But all the bureaucracy, oh my Lord, made the plan not very sound. But now I'm here and you are here. Yes, we're here to get the message around. That it's the people, not the politicians, my friends who can save the earth. It's the people and not the leaders. Oh Lord, you know what it's worth. Woo! For the people, for love, freedom, joy, healing. My name is Fantuzzi, and these are the Flexibles. It's the people, not the politicians, my friends who can save the earth. It's the people and not the leaders. Oh Lord, you know what my mama said. Son las gente y no los políticos. Mira que pueden salvar nuestra tierra. Son las gente y no los líderes. ¡Epa! Que sabe lo que vale. It's the people, not the politicians, my friends who can save the earth. It's the people and not the leaders. Woo! You know what it's worth. One more time. It's the people, not the politicians. Oh Lord, who can save the earth. Thank you for watching. Thank you for loving. Thank you for caring. You know what it's worth.
Thank you, Fantuzzi and the Flexible Band. Thank you so much. And they're going to be back. We're going to close the show with them doing a couple of songs and get us all up dancing. That's how we're going to end the show. But I want to remind people that you can find out all about Fantuzzi by going to fantuzzimusic.com. That's FANTUZZI music.com. We love Fantuzzi. He's a brother. This whole show started with Fantuzzi. In the beginning, there was Fantuzzi, and it was good. So thank you so much, Fantuzzi and Flexible Band, Jan and company. And we'll see you guys back at the end of the show for a couple of more songs.
Blessings. Thank you.
Yeah, we're excited. All right. So now we're at what we call the mid-show announcements. And I want to thank all the people who have donated to our fire victim. And so I'm going to read the names. A lot of you donated anonymously tonight. So thank you to all of you who have anonymously donated. Really appreciate that very, very much. Also want to thank John Schmidt. Gosh, and a lot of anonymous people. Heather, Carrie, Julie, Angela Bell, anonymous, Iona, Teresa Luengo, Kawali Kiaha, Dara Benjamin, Jane Gitter, more anonymouses, Karen Eisenberg, My Home, our dear friend Sophia Roberts, and Annie and Yamini Redwell. Thank you all. Again, we will one more time kind of acknowledge those of you who have donated. And we also, you know, so much goes into creating this show and then broadcasting it. And so we do want to take a moment to thank all of our broadcast partners, and really starting with Unify, because we know that a lot of you are watching on Unify. And there's still time to come into our Zoom rooms. So whether you're watching on Unify or the Sign Network or Awake TV, any of you, you can still come into our Zoom room. It's not too late. Just go on your browser to globalpeacetribe.com, register, and boom, you'll be with us. It takes about 30 seconds. But I want to thank John and Summer Raymer at the Sign Network. They've been really doing a beautiful job of helping to share our broadcast and get it out there. And we want to thank Light Touch. Jay Mayer is such an important part of our community, an important part of Love Coach Academy, and now the Global Peace Tribe. And he really has created something wonderful with Light Touch. He, of course, was our sponsor last week's show. He'll be sponsoring next week's show and 2 more shows in December. So thank you, Jay. A big hello to Alan Steinfeld and his YouTube channel, New Realities TV. Of course, many of you are watching on Love Coach Academy. That's my company. We also want to thank our friends from Earth Dance Global, Humanities Team, Portal to Ascension. We're going to be hearing from Neil Gar, who is Portal to Ascension, in a few minutes. Disclosure Fest, Global Days of Unity, and a Sadiq and Earth Walk. And they're going to be doing something very special on November 11th. So again, we just really appreciate all the people we get to collaborate with. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to my partner, Deborah.
Thank you, Scott. And yes, thank you to all our broadcast partners, our sponsors. Thank you to all of you that registered, that donate to us. Thank you to all our donors. It's all of us that makes this happen, and we really appreciate it. We take that green love and we send it right back out to you. So thank you so much. And we have been producing some amazing shows, and we still have 6 more shows to go for this season. Next week is going to be one of our special shows, Honoring Indigenous Wisdom, Co-Creating Global Community. This is sponsored by Jay Mayer and Light Touch, and it's his very important pet wish that we do this show, and him and his beloved Jan helps us create the show. So we thank you, Jay, so much. We are going to have Chase Iron Eyes, who is very prominent in Standing Rock, Ukwala. Adam Yellowbird is helping to coordinate this show. Kevin Locke, Patricio Domingo, Lupito, Clive Saraz, Lupito, and musicians Joanna Shenandoah and Sister Stone. We are bringing Native elders from around the world to come and speak their wisdom now on this same theme of co-creating global community. Adam told us that this is what they're all talking about now. So it's in the field, and we're so grateful to have this show. And then we've got 6 more shows for you after that. On November 21st, we are co-creating with Global Coherence Pulse, Teresa Collins, with the theme Reimagine and Take Action, shifting a world of fear to a world led by love. On November 28th, we're going to build the energy and the power of love with a show co-created by Brad Nye with Tribalize, with the theme, The Power of Community, Building Trust and Coherence. On December 5th, our co-associated producer, Charaya Dharma, is going to do a special show on secret ancient history, powerful information for our times. On December 12th, Jay Mayer is going to sponsor another show with us with Relationship Mastery. December 19th, we're going to use the power of the winter solstice portal And it's going to be a winter solstice activation with really high level spiritual teachers and guides. And December 26th is going to be really fun. It's going to be special moments of Saturday Night Alive. We're going to bring back all the unique and special moments, musicians of the whole year. And Jay Mayer is going to sponsor that again as well. So thank you so much, Jay. And now we're going to speak a little bit more about the GoFundMe, the other part of it that is going to assist Saturday night moving forward. And as you know, we began the show assisting Fantuzzi, who you just saw, assisting him from healing from his Lyme disease. And the power of community, the green love that came in when we did these shows, we generated almost $15,000 for him, really helped him move forward. And as you can see, he's alive and vibrant now. And that's the power of community and what it can do. And then we kept that model on the show, and we continue to promote nonprofit organizations of many kinds. I think we've sponsored about 30 nonprofit organizations that are all helping community at this time. And then when the fires happened, we said, wow, this is another way where community can help special people that have gone through incredible things like you saw tonight with their homes being devastated. And here's some of the nonprofit organizations that we have sponsored. And so we've actually raised about $55,000 that we have given out to these nonprofit organizations and to fire victims, which has been amazing. Believe me, I love writing those big checks to these organizations that are really helping us right now with COVID, with people in need, all kinds of organizations there. And we understand at this point, after putting out so much money out, that there's some tax liabilities in just passing through the money. So we're learning as we're going. This show has grown so fast. It's been amazing to keep up with. But now we're learning that we have some tax liabilities we have to deal with, and we've already given away all the money. So we'd love your support just to get put back in our coffers to help it, because we're getting ready to do a whole new season and move that forward. So we'd love your support. All of it really comes to us, allows us to bring in great people to work with us and produce the show at a really high level. Scott, would you like to share a bit about what we're up to?
Yeah, it has happened really fast. I gotta say, it's been really remarkable. And Deborah and I are on the phone or on Zoom every day working on different things. And we've also got a wonderful staff. Want to really appreciate so many people that have come forward, and more of our community is coming forward. And so thank you. We are the Global Peace Tribe. We are growing, we're finding each other, we're discovering each other, and it's really powerful. So this is our last week that we will be showing, that we'll be using the GoFundMe that we've been doing before. So I'm going to bring it up just one last time. This is the last time probably you'll see this document, this banner. Please do help us and give us some support. For Crystal, who you met earlier tonight, and also to help us with our tax liability. And we are excited about moving forward. We're already beginning to plan our next season, which will be winter, January through March. And so we're already working on that. So it's pretty exciting. And thank you, Deborah, for being an amazing partner. Thank you for everything you do. All right, it is time for some more music. And it's once again my pleasure to bring on the angels. Thank you so much, ladies, for being with us, and take it away. And you're, oh, there we go.
Sound okay?
It's soft, it's light.
All the dances falling, and it don't think maybe. This time gonna get it right. This time gonna come undone. gonna get it right. This time, gonna come out like the sun. We walk through the valley of tears and sorrow. That we're having is maybe tomorrow. River of tears is melting us down. 'Cause we let the sorrow flow, the light's gonna come around. Gonna get it right. This time, gonna come undone. This time, gonna get it right. This time, gonna come out like the sun. Naked as a holy wall. We're conjuring up the storm. We're coming undone. Coming undone. The waters of fearing separation. Part of all creation. We're coming undone. Coming undone. Coming undone. Coming bearing us on.
Ooh. Thank you. Well, one of your lines was about getting it right, and I'm going to hopefully get it right this time. It's lakshmimusic.net. LAKSHMI music.net is where we find out about Lakshmi. But wait, there's more. There's Amy Carr. And Amy is a brilliant musician and photographer. And hers is pretty easy to find. amycarr.com, AMYCARR.com. So there's that one. But wait, there's more. There's Suzanne Sterling. And Suzanne has not one, but two websites that we want to definitely let everybody know about. First one's pretty easy. It's her name, SuzanneSterling.com, SUZANNE, Sterling.com. And a lot of stuff going on there, her albums. And so definitely go to all of their websites. These ladies are amazing. And then also, you know, many of you probably know Suzanne and the work that she's been doing in the yoga community. And so I also want to put the spotlight for a moment on offthematintotheworld.org. Offthematintotheworld.org. Training leaders worldwide in social change. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for what you're doing. Thank you, ladies, for all that you do. So good to hear your music again, playing again. And thank you for just really lifting up our spirits in such beautiful ways. All right. And now it's my pleasure to turn it back to Deborah, who has a very special guest for us.
Thanks, Scott. And yeah, I am so happy that when we asked this man to come on board that he agreed, because he really exemplifies the part of this show that's about solutions. And he's made a lifelong mission to study the world and study all about it and find out what can really help us thrive. You may know him from the movie that he put out with him and his beautiful wife, Kimberly. Foster Gamble is the co-creator of Thrive Movies, and which they published that movie a couple of years ago, and it was a massive consciousness-raising film. It's one of those films that everyone had to see, and it really woke us up to new levels of what we didn't know about. And now he's just released Thrive 2, which is now all about solutions. So now that we know what's going on in the world, what do we do about it? He is a wealth of information. The movie is a must-see. We'll post the links in the chat box, and I'd really love to warm welcome with so my heart open, Foster Gamble.
Thank you, Deborah. It's really an honor and a privilege to get to participate with this group. I love the topic that you chose, especially for this week in our lives of unifying through compassion and solutions. And you guys have been such a lifeline to so many ever since the lockdown started. So I've enjoyed watching a lot of these shows, and it's great to get to share a little bit this time. So, okay, 10 minutes. I'm going to need to be very succinct, which is often a challenge for me. But here's my intention. What I want to do is create a little 10-minute time capsule, a hologram, if you will, for us to truly and ultimately move beyond our political polarity, not just in our meditations, but in our 3D civilization. If what I say interests you, you'll find a much fuller version in Thrive 1 and Thrive 2, but we'll give you a little trailer tonight. So one of the things that I've noticed is that whichever way any election goes, usually there's about 49% of the population who's really upset. In fact, dangerously disappointed. And this is not by accident, according to my research. We are being kept intentionally unstable. It's a lot easier to control people when they're afraid and unstable. So why do we settle for the lesser of two evils if by definition that's going to lead to evil? How many of us really think that we're going to solve the major problems that we're facing through politics? I actually asked that question to a large group that I was addressing recently, and the answer was hardly anyone. So it's quite a predicament that we're in when we're depending so much on politicians, and yet hardly anyone believes they're actually going to be able to solve the problems. So however any election goes, recovery, which is a lot of what the topic of tonight is about, is not, for me, about just going into our safe spaces and clutching our security blankets or going into denial, but it is about authentically feeling our feelings and finding our center, and then going full out to find and create the condition that truly transcends political divisiveness. So how in the world do we do that? Well, fortunately, especially for this group, I believe that it starts with consciousness. So the time that you've been putting in has been well spent. Because I believe consciousness allows us, the more we practice it, to hold the center energetically, no matter what's going on. And then as we move into our lives, to act without losing that center, without violating any other sovereign beings, and eventually without getting sucked into politics, which was specifically designed to divide us into teams fighting over the reins of coercive power over others for the benefit of the few controllers who really, in my research, control both sides, and they have for centuries. So while most of the folks in this country were obsessed with a very suspicious pandemic and orchestrated civil unrest, we kind of missed the over $7 trillion in bailouts that the bankers gave themselves, putting them on the backs of us and our grandchildren. And we missed the infrastructure that's being put in place for a complete totalitarian control and surveillance. That's a big deal. It's a very well-planned distraction. So then what do we do next? Kimberly and I have found that all of the solutions that we've come across really lie in harmonizing with the unified field. And that's what Thrive 2 is about. That's why we say Thrive 2, starring the unified field. We are at a time in history, literally, when the unified field theory is actually coming out and being realized for the first time. And we had the honor of getting to reveal a lot of that and do the visual effects for it in Thrive 2. But it's not just theoretical. If it were a theory for physicists, oh, that's interesting, that's great, but so what? The reason we made Thrive 2 is that what we saw was that this emerging theory of oneness is also validated through the applications that we found and that we filmed in the form of multiple free energy devices, cures for cancer and other so-called incorrigible diseases, and maybe most importantly of all, a coherent ethical philosophy that can take us beyond the destructiveness of adversarial politics. That's why I was particularly thrilled to get to be on here tonight to at least say a few minutes about it. Now, all of these solutions that we've been finding and that inspired us to spend 1,000 days making this next movie, they're all based on resonance with the field. Now, I know this group knows a lot about the field. You know a lot about oneness. You've been immersed in this, most of you, for a long time. As we claim our natural right to true sovereignty, and Charles called this in his narrative on the corona and conspiracy, he referred to this very true sovereignty. These solutions, which have been so suppressed in terms of our freedom, in terms of the energy devices, in terms of cures and so forth, they are getting liberated and will help us thrive. I got to say a line in Thrive 2, which is near and dear to my heart and very much apropos of what we're talking about tonight, which is that the real struggle is not between nations, races, genders, or classes, but between those who want to be free and those who would continue to steal our freedom from us. So I want to talk for a moment about authority. Now, just personally, my choice has been for a long time that I don't vote. I'm not saying that the vote doesn't matter. I'm saying I've chosen not to vote because the notion for me personally of endorsing our next slave master and the process of selecting our slave master is so repugnant to me that I would rather be a public stand against the myth that we need to be ruled than vote for the lesser of evils. Now, I know that may sound very new or disturbing to some people, but I guarantee you I've been looking into this intensely for 20 years. And no matter who wins an election, we're still all being ruled. And not just by a president and a party, but by the international cabal of would-be controllers who are duping humanity into an all-powerful technocratic fascism. So what gives them the power to do that? Well, to put it simply, they conned us into believing in the myth of authority and then used our buying into them ruling over us to turn right around and seize the right to print fake money that enriches them while robbing the rest of the world. So to counter this type of vast and really vicious agenda for global domination that has almost been completed, we need, I think, three main things. We need courageous truth media, of which we are all a part, and it's emerging like crazy despite the efforts to censor it. Secondly, we need a powerful protective force. And thirdly, we need vast wealth. And I'm thrilled to say that after 8 years of intensive research and travels to meeting the high-level people in the Asian Dragon Alliance and the US White Hats and so forth, I'm not going to go and try to explain all that. You can look it up on our website, or we mentioned a little bit in Thrive 2, and you can find out a lot about it on the internet. I can say that after 8 to 9 years of direct experience, these projects are very real, and they're very well intended, and they're very powerful. The Asian Dragon Alliance are the wealthiest people in the world by far, and they are committed by their own spiritual covenant to bringing that wealth to bear on rescuing the ecology of the planet and restoring the economy of the planet. And the White Hats, they're like the good guys in the institutions of the army and the government and the intelligence agencies and so forth. They're really ticked off at what has happened to the institutions that they joined out of good intentions. And they are very well organized. They don't want to start World War III, but they are emerging hand in hand with the Dragon Alliance to actually restore a sense of freedom, a sense of integrity to the Republic, and to reboot the global economy. So I didn't know this when we did Thrive 1. I was invited to travel to meet these people and get educated, and it's some of the best news I've ever come across. So a lot of us have been involved in becoming more conscious. But what is it that we need to become more conscious of? Well, the next thing I want to talk about is voluntarism. That may be a new word to a lot of you. And I believe first and foremost, what we need to do is get an effective answer to the question that many of the speakers have addressed tonight. How do we coexist when we disagree? And in my experience, only ethics takes us there. In traveling all over the world, Kimberly and I have asked a lot of people about a lot of things, and we've only found one thing that every single human being that we've met so far agrees to. So it's probably a pretty important thing. Well, what it is that they agree to is that they don't want to be violated against their will. So let that sink in for a minute. Think how hard it is to get, 3 family members to agree on where to go for dinner. Try to get the whole world to agree on anything. So the one thing they agree on is they don't want to be violated. So the answer to that is what's known as the non-aggression principle. And that simply means that no one is allowed to initiate force against anyone else except in true self-defense. Lori beautifully described this as honoring the sovereignty of each being. And recall that Marianne referred to it as all men are created equal as long as you're not hurting anyone else. So there's a theme, and it's been around with the mystics for millennia, but it's only just arising as a cultural phenomenon. In the transition to real freedom and thriving, how do we get from here to there? We need to access the best of the left and the best of the right and the center and the libertarians on the way. This demands ethical coherence, which requires a universal morality. And I want to suggest that the non-aggression principle with individual accountability provides that compass that we have been missing throughout human history. And what the universal morality of non-violation leads to is you can't take people's money without their permission. You can't take their kids and send them off to some war that you had for your own reasons and so forth. It's really simple, even though we've missed it for the most part. So it leads to, by requirement, no taxation, which means no government, not just no big government, no government. You don't get to take people's hard-earned money against their will, even if you hire other people to do it. Actually, as I was listening tonight, I have a new political campaign I'm interested in. I want to elect Paul Draper president, and I want to give him 4 years to make authoritarian government disappear. I think if there's one guy who's capable of doing that, it's Paul. So what's the option? Instead of having government, we'll still have independent organizations. We'll have associations and clubs and institutes and leagues and businesses. We'll have independent dispute resolution organizations and independent insurance and peace officers and charities. We'll do all the things that government has said they're going to do and haven't done well. And we're going to allow independent people with their own motivations to do it and compete with each other in the free market to do the best job while holding to the integrity of the non-aggression principle. Someone in the chat I noticed during the call tonight said, we need a whole new system. But I want to caution you, systems are always imposed. I propose we need a new condition. And it's a condition of true freedom where no one has rights that everyone else doesn't have. And currently politicians and bankers are an exception to that. And that's the problem. So this is called voluntarism. And I believe voluntarism is the missing basis for a universal morality. Martin Luther King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. And we're not there yet. We've gone from the pharaohs to the priests and the dictators and the kings and all that. We've gone more and more toward individual freedom, but we're not there yet. Even if democracy were honest, it's still mob rule. So you get 49% people pissed off. So I asked the same audience that I referred to before, who do you think should rule? One person, a small group of people, a majority, or do you think we should rule ourselves as long as we don't violate any other, as Marianne said? Well, over 90% of the people in a very large audience said, we want to rule ourselves. We want protective rules, but not rulers. So there's lots of clues pointing in the same direction here. Voluntarism is not the traditional ism. It's not conservatism, liberalism, progressivism, communism, fascism, socialism, libertarianism. All of those are systems of coercion. But it is voluntary association, voluntary exchange, non-aggression, and owning ourselves. The evidence is actually there, if you look carefully throughout history, that the more this is allowed, the more secure, the more prosperous, and the happier a culture is. This, in my opinion, is what gets rid of civil wars. You know, a lot of you probably know the famous excerpt from a poem by Rumi that says, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. I totally honor Rumi's vision, and I want to suggest a timely adaptation of that. It goes like this. We are all in the field. We can meet beyond right and left, where only our rights are left. The rights to own ourselves, our rightly gained property, and the right to not be violated by anyone. So to close, I think what matters most is each of us standing for everyone's freedom. As with slavery, people didn't know how an economy could possibly work without slavery, but it was ended because it was the right thing to do. In the same way as with slavery, history and morality have shown us that everything else depends on starting with that freedom. And my lifetime quest has convinced me that for an advanced technological civilization like ours to survive, much less to thrive, it must outgrow the myth of authority and leave all politics in the rearview mirror. For me, this is the liberation of solutions and love. Thank you very much for your listening.
Oh, thank you so much, Foster. And I want to give people a few ways that they can get a lot more of you. First of all, everybody needs to see Thrive 2. And so it's pretty easy to do that. You go to thriveon.com. That's thriveon.com. And you can play the trailer if you want to get a better sense of the film first. But then please subscribe. I immediately subscribed at the $10 a month level. You can buy or rent the movie or the DVD, but I really want to encourage people, please, let's all subscribe so that there's an ongoing flow of money so that Foster and his team, his beautiful wife, can continue to come up with solutions, to come up with updates. I mean, they are really out there, and there's so much information that they've gathered that we need to know, from free energy to all the different things you're seeing as I go down here. So let's all subscribe to what they're doing. And I also wanted to find out a little bit more. Foster, tell us a little bit more about what I'm really just seeing for the first time now. Tell us about the Freedom Portal. What's that all about?
Well, the Freedom Portal is really my passion. I don't think I'll make another feature-length movie in my lifetime, but I do want to be in this freedom conversation till my last breath. So we have just recently opened an aperture to the world, similar to what you've done here, for communications both ways. And the purpose of it is to provide people with the information and with the opportunity to interact and move into action to actually create a condition of freedom on the planet. The subtitle of the Freedom Portal is "There is light at the end of the rabbit hole." And we go all the way to the center of the deceptive agendas. And then we come out the other side to the principles and the strategies, the facts and the evidence to actually to reach the solutions and the freedom and the light that's at the other end. So we're also about to launch our new Solutions Hub. We've already got over 1,100 groups in 90 plus countries around the world who are working in their own self-created way, inspired by Thrive, on various solutions. And we're bringing that all to our new website. And we've got a whole new hub, a solutions hub that's going to be in 40 languages. And it's free and provides everybody a way to learn how to get really effective in your own, realizing your own purpose and direction and goals. And then we have an infrastructure by which you can find other people, either locally or regionally or anywhere in the world by issue. And then all sorts of processes by which to collaborate effectively that we have found really work with groups that we've coached all over the world. So if you want to get involved in the conversation, and if you want to get involved in effective action, then come to thriveon.com, check out the Freedom Portal after you've seen the movies. And then within the next few weeks, we'll have the Solutions Hub up to serve everyone.
Fantastic. Well, definitely we will continue to track all that you're doing and let people know in our network. And thank you so much, Foster. Thank you for being with us tonight.
My pleasure.
Special evening. God bless you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, you know, there's another wonderful leader in our field who I actually met through Deborah. That's one of the great things about what we do is we get to meet so many amazing people. And Neil Gar is the founder and creator of Portal to Ascension. He has really done a terrific job. He just had a terrific conference that I was absolutely glued to it. There's so many new speakers I learned about through his conference. And Neil's with us tonight. And in addition to being the founder of Portal to Ascension, he produces workshops and seminars, and he's also a poet. And so we're going to now turn it over and get a chance. And this guy's usually behind the scenes. He's running the cameras. He's making the workshops happen. But this is a chance for us to really kind of drop in to some of the creative expression from our dear friend, Neil Gar.
Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you, Deborah. Hello, everybody. So nice to be here with you all. I wanted to tell you a little bit about Portal to Ascension, but I don't think I have time for that. So I'll leave that to Deborah and Scott at the end. But just real quick, Portal to Ascension, create around 100 to 110 events a year at this point. Have a full-on online university with 10,000 hours plus of footage. If you're interested in receiving thousands of hours of free footage, similar to the way Netflix is laid out, categories, topics, all that stuff, portaltoascension.org. But my truest passion one of my true passions, I guess, is definitely rapping and spoken word poetry. I've been doing that since 2008. And I do this at a lot of events, a lot of spiritual events. I perform, but I always forget to plug where people can learn more about my spoken word and poetry. You can go to youtube.com/MC Resonance, M as in Mary, C as in cat, Resonance, or you can go to Instagram, MC_resonance there. And on my YouTube, I'm all over the world at different ancient sites performing spoken word, like the Yucatan pyramids and Peru and a lot of other places. So it's pretty fun to watch. And what I'm going to do today is, this event is about unity, and Portal to Ascension is synonymous to unity consciousness and to bring forward that singularity in a world of duality. And we've seen the division is hardcore, and divide and conquer has definitely been a technique that has been used for ages, for thousands of years. So I'm going to do 2 spoken word pieces. One I created while I was on the train when I was taking my master's in England, and I was on the tube going to school, and I wrote this. It's called Political Spirituality. And I guess it's very fitting into now, because in the last 4 years, what have we noticed? All these spiritual people that had nothing to do with politics are now been politicized, right? So this is about Constantine and the Council of Nicaea, and how they basically manipulated Christianity and changed the books, created their own gospel, if you will. And now that is basically the one that had been circulated. We can go into details on why and what happened, but that would be a whole lecture in itself. So I actually started creating spoken word poetry to convey entire lectures in one spoken word piece. I go really fast normally, so I'm going to try to go a little slow for everyone. But you can hear the story in it. The first verse is about the story of Constantine and what happened with the Council of Nicaea, and the second verse is about the bigger picture of what was happening since the beginning of creation that installed this division. And then the next poem I'm going to do is called Atlantis, and that's all about bringing us back to oneness. So it's kind of a journey, a cosmic journey of, you can even say, the political divide that's going on right now kind of stemmed from this first poem I'm going to do. If you want to, some people say Constantine's known as the first Illuminati because of what he did here. So we're going to go into this realm of consciousness and this realm of what happened with ancient religions. And then we're going to end with, the rising of Atlantis, the resurrection of the Christ consciousness within us right now. So here we go. His political spirituality. The sun stops on the 22nd. It dies in the skies, reflects over oceans. He walked on water. Didn't you see him telling me to be like he lived? He died for us, but there's no such thing as us. There's only one covenant. Feel me, show me, teach me. Since 325 AD, Constantine proclaimed himself a part of divinity, manipulations of Christianity, making us believe you can create order from anarchy. Place me at the bottom of the elitist hierarchy, the pyramids created by the Anunnaki, creating a Tower of Babel so we can reach God. We're not separate at all. It's all crystal clear. Human flaws portrayed in a concept of divinity. Is politics intertwined with spirituality? Is politics intertwined with spirituality? Galaxy so far away, we intertwine planetary cosmic stargate to seek. Breach walls of society, spread word to the masses, exude gases, volcanic ashes, cosmic element irrelevant to the reason why we will control your mind. We're words of divine originality, originally believed to be one of these free rebels of humanity. It's a fallacy of superficial promises of rules and laws. Find the meaning for a truer cause. Scriptures and prophecies of the second coming of God. The new age was never meant to be hard. The rise in the feminine energy is due to us becoming brothers, one with a terrestrial mother. No more Jehovah Witness knocking on my door. No more street corners, media manipulation and gore. No more street corners, hookers and gore. So until that day arrives, I will concentrate my thought on my manifestation of one love and rhyme. Thank you. So this one is now, this one's called Atlantis, and this is about the unity consciousness and coming back into one. So are we one yet? Going back to source. No remorse will reinforce the course that we all endorse. Unconditional love. It's the highest vibration I give from above. Desolation of separation, we must be the ones to say this is enough. You see, the third dimension, man, it was meant to be tough. There is no captivity, so unlock the cuffs, move away from hate and begin to trust. Our thoughts shift the Earth's Christ into a straight axis. Just like in Atlantis, stop causing damage and learn to manage self-realization. When people start to vanish, we change our intentions and join the like-minded souls in the fifth dimension. What is it that you envision for the future incarnations? The Christ consciousness has arisen. Tear the perception of being in a prison, this industrial system, slumber of opposites, duality where we get lost and forget how to achieve liberation. The curiosity won't last for long at all. As we move to the aquatic age, break free from the third dimensional cage of limitations, Freemasons being misplaced in this illusionary reality, governing authorities, there will be no more war. Co-create a love ambassador, open the doors. Life isn't supposed to be a chore. No getting on your knees, worshiping entities from the floor. The message is simple, man. We don't need to know anymore. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Thank you, everybody. Love you all so much. Final words. Unity consciousness, the energy of inclusion is much stronger than the energy of exclusion. You know, the secret might be known by different parties, but the energy of inclusion and bringing us all together in one and reaching across people that we may not agree with is really what is going to take us to the next level. So I feel like that's the theme of this event today, and it's perfect timing. And it's like this always, you know, these conversations need to take place. We need to have conversations on how we're going to integrate all communities, how we're going to start talking and respecting people's beliefs, but also finding common ground. That's what needs to take place right here, right now. And that's what, you know, that's what SNA is really doing all the time. And that is definitely what Portal to Ascension is doing. So thank you all so much. Check me out, MC_resonance on Instagram and MC Resonance on YouTube. Thank you.
Hey, I didn't find you on YouTube fast enough. I apologize, but I do have right here. There's so much at Portal to Ascension. I mean, it's kind of like the Smithsonian Institute of our tribe. There are so many amazing workshops and videos and things there. So please, 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 everybody, really just mark it right now. Go spend time at portaltoascension.org. portaltoascension.org. There is so much there. And Neil, thank you so much for all that you do in our tribe. You are absolutely a founding father. And we talked a lot about founding fathers today. You're definitely a founding father of the Global Peace Tribe. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah. I also want to acknowledge for a moment some more of our donors. I'm going to put the spotlight for a minute just on Crystal. And while the spotlight is on Crystal, I want to remind people you can still donate, and a lot of people have. Since I last spoke, I want to thank our dear friend, Jay Mayer, who just made a very, very generous donation. Thank you, Jay. Also, a very generous donation just came in from Wolf in Georgia. Also want to thank Noel, Stan Spiro. Hey, Stan. Scotty Satori. A lot more anonymous donations, Kathleen Robinson, and quite a few anonymous donations. So thank you, everybody. And you're all really doing a lot to support Saturday Night Live. And of course, Crystal, our recipient this week. Thank you so much. You know, Deborah came up with a wonderful idea, and I'm going to put the spotlight on Deborah and share it with her. She came up with a wonderful idea, which is recommending those festivals, events, and projects that we really believe in. And so sometimes we don't have time to do an entire show on one of these festivals. We've collaborated with some of them in the past, but we certainly want to highlight them and spotlight them. And so we've got two big events coming up that we want to share with you. And I'm going to share one, and then Deborah is going to share the next. I want to introduce you to my friend, Eugene Headland. Eugene is the founder of the One World Tantra Festival, which was a very successful event for quite a while. And like all the different festivals in the age of COVID, they've gone to a virtual event. I'm going to be teaching there. It's coming up in a couple of weeks, but you can learn all about it by going to tantrafestival.online. tantrafestival.online. He's got a lot of great presenters. It's a week long. And welcome. I had Eugene on my show Straight Talk last night, and he did it from the airport at North Macedonia. Since last night, he flew to London and then to, was it New York?
Dallas.
Dallas.
Yes.
And that's where he is now. And then he's off to Cabo tomorrow. So
yeah, thank you, Scott. It's surreal to bookend this. I haven't slept. I woke up at 3:30 in the morning, went to the airport in Skopje, North Macedonia, flew to London, and then Dallas, and here we are again on the other side. So just brief, because I know you have such a rich and amazing program. I organize Tantra festivals around the world that are in person. And of course, during this very unique time in our lives, we've had to cancel these events. And they're always geographic based, and they're really beautiful. They have specific flavors based on where they are in the world. And in that time, instead of feeling, the lack of what we cannot do, we realize that with this online medium, we're no longer limited by geography and by, time. And so the One World Tantra Festival is actually a global festival. We have participants from all over the planet and teachers from all over the planet. We have over 130 teachers, over 300 hours of content, 24 hours a day for 7 days a week. Even if you have a whole week off, you can't take everything in. So you have access to all the recordings for a full 5 weeks after that. So you're free to go at your pace. And the intention is to have, as you see some of them there on the screen, many different voices, some of the classical tantric voices, some more experiential tantric voices, workshops from, the ultimate basics. What is Tantra, or what are some of the core practices, to some of the more elaborate rituals and ceremonies. The intention is to give you this, to take advantage of this very special time, to, at a low price and easily accessible from the comfort of your home, give you this incredible library of content from some of the leaders of the tantric arts from all over the world. So it's kind of flipping the idea of limitation and turning it into an actual abundance. So we would love to have you come be part of this. It's tantrafestival.online. You're warmly welcome to join. Almost 70–80% of the people who come are totally new. It's an amazing opportunity for people if you've been curious about Tantra, or even if the word doesn't necessarily mean so much to you, like what is Tantra? If you're curious about how to love yourself more, how to be more in ease with who you are, and to stop excluding part of yourself to feel whole. The gift of Tantra is practices and teachings and a community that helps support you to remember that you're whole, you're complete, and you're worthy. And you're very, very welcome to join us. So it's November 20th through 27th, and I'm super excited for what Scott's going to bring and all these other amazing leaders. I couldn't imagine being more humbled to just be in their presence. I've been working on the schedule the last few days, and I get so excited I have to walk around the room, because it's like, my God, these are amazing teachings. They're just being given to people all over the world who need it most. So thank you so much, Scott, for being part and for having me here, and all that you're creating in the world as well.
Well, thank you. And, for those of you who are kind of new to the Tantra world, really, I've been in this world for a long, long time. I made a movie about Tantra in 1989. Margot and I go way back, Margot Anand. And she and my wife are best friends. And so as I look at who Eugene's got, it's like every significant Tantra teacher in the world. As I was scrolling through, it's like, oh my God, there's Marianne Williamson from Australia, and there's, my friends from Switzerland. And it's like everybody. And he's also brought on a lot of the new voices, as well as a lot of the classic. And I guess I fall into the old guard category, but it's cool. So two last things I just want to say. Tantra means to weave. And when we learn how to weave our masculine and our feminine, our spiritual with our animal, with the different elements of who we are, that's what this show is all about tonight. And his festival is going to be amazing. One last thing is that people who buy tickets, he gave a really generous code. If you put in Love Coach, I wonder where he came up with that code. Put in Love Coach, you get 25% off the tickets. And already the tickets are really reasonably priced. So go to the One World Tantra Festival website. I'll bring it up again one last time. It's tantrafestival.online. And that's where you can get your tickets. Put in Love Coach to get 25% off. Eugene, thanks for being on the show, and get some rest. All right. And now to introduce our second Global Peace Tribe Recommends, it's my partner, Deborah.
Thanks, Scott. And yes, that's truly the beauty and the blessing of these times, the silver lining of this cloud, is that all these festivals that have just been concentrated in live events and only people that could get there live could benefit from this information. Now the medicine is going out to the world so far and wide. So I just want to acknowledge our gratitude for that. And this is another festival that has been produced in the San Francisco Bay Area for many years. Incredible Globe Sound Healing Conference. And this is being produced by David Gibson. It features, just like the Tantra Festival, 20 of the top sound healers. And you will experience researchers, pioneers, instructors, doctors, sound therapists, musicians, and many of the top people: Michael Tellinger, Stephen Halpern, Eileen McCusick, Suzanne Sterling, the list goes on. And we're going to show you a video right now about the Sound Conference. Beautiful. So now I'd like to bring on the producer of the Sound Healing Conference. David Gibson has been a curator of this important lineage that has really come to the surface now. Sound is definitely a part of consciousness raising and frequency. So now I'd love to invite David Gibson to come on and share a little bit more about this festival.
Hi there. It's all vibration. When you understand how vibration works, you have the keys to the whole universe of healing and raising consciousness, right? It's really the whole deal, and it's really the key. We've got so many amazing people presenting. Michael Tellinger goes back to sound used 300,000 years ago. right? And how they were using it and were really tuned in at that point. I mean, John Stuart Reed actually invented the cymoscope that shows different sound patterns in water droplets and how those are vibrating inside your body. He's now doing research on and has found that the actual sound of your heartbeat actually creates the ability of the red blood cells to receive oxygen. So he's come up with different music to help oxygenate your blood. And it's really, really amazing. Jackie Stoutenberg, she actually just did a whole presentation, or is doing a whole presentation on the science behind levitation with sound. There's a lot of companies that are using sound to do levitation for medical reasons, for cleaning up water, a whole range of things, all the way back to what they did in Egypt to raise the great blocks, right? And then Jamie Liu, actually, she's like she finds my soul song. And we're just both in tears, right? The potential for sound is so incredible. The other thing that we're doing that's really exciting is we're launching the Medical Sound Association. It's a whole group of doctors and sound therapists that are coming together to figure out precisely the frequencies, combinations of frequencies and musical flows that will heal every single disease in the world. So if anybody would like to join, that's like next, it's in the conference on Saturday, the 14th from at 1:30. But then we're also launching the Sound Education Association. We got a $100,000 grant to take our entire curriculum from our Sound Healing Institute into 2 Montessori schools. And over 4 years, we created 2,500 exercises for children from 3 months all the way up to 18 years, based on the books on brain development for children at different age groups. So we're going to be refining that, and we've got grants now coming in to take that curriculum to public and private schools around the world. So anybody that's interested in sound education. So what we're looking at doing is creating a new medical system that doesn't hurt people, a new educational system that brings everybody to a place of stillness to be able to manifest whatever you're wanting to do. It's really profound what's going on. Even if you come just for the sound baths and the meditation before we get really high. Oh my God, we get so high. And then we go into the presentations, right? It's at globesoundhealingconference.com, and it's completely free. And we'll have playback for about 2 weeks. It's free as well. I really hope you can make it. One last thing. Everybody, if you like, send a sound of love to everybody on the planet right now who's in fear, anxiety, or even anger right now. Send any sound of love to them now. Join in. Basic law of physics. A strong, resonant vibration overcomes a weaker and entrains the weaker into the stronger. This is how we change the world. What you guys are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. And thank you for your amazing work for so many years, and to hear what you're creating now. We're all coming to these peaks of being able to give our gifts all around the world. It's amazing. So we've posted the links in the chat room. Please check it out. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Much love to all.
Thank you. And now we have a very, very special guest, very wise man who's come to be with us. And I'm sure he's been watching the show and has much to tell us about what's really going on the planet. So this guy, I mentioned him before, his favorite yoga pose is tongue in cheek. And that's none other than the Swami Byandananda. Thank you, Swami. We're so happy for you being with us tonight.
Well, what an honor and what a pleasure to be part of this evening of healing the separation. You know, we're celebrating the end of this divisive electoral season. And again, people are it's still about division. You know, you have half the people who are having champagne, the other half are having real pain. So that is how it is when you're only talking about the divided. And as Foster had very wisely said, we need to leave this field of the lesser evils that separate us, choosing a lesser evil, which is of course evil, and then focusing on how we can bring the greater good together. So part of this healing right now has a lot to do with recognizing what we've been through. We have been through this campaign where we've been separated by fear. And we had half of the people in this body politic in fear of an authoritarian individual. We had the other half of the body politic in fear of an authoritarian collective system. And yet, most of us have nothing to fear from one another. We have been adrenalized into this game of separation. And now we have a moment where the trance of separation has been ended. I loved what Foster said about letting all of these isms go. Oh, socialism, capitalism, all the isms. We need to make the isms a thing of the past. We need to turn all of the isms into wasms, right? Every ism becomes a wasm. Because once again, we have beliefs in our head that keep us separate. The beliefs keep us separate, and the unity of the heart is the one thing that we have in common, right? And you know, we have, let's face it, it's good to have a warm, fuzzy dogma to keep us comfortable on a dark night of the soul. But in the end, every dogma has to answer to the same master. And that master is oneness, because we are all one with the same one, universal oneness. The universe has us surrounded, might as well surrender. And so in this time of healing, because after all, healing means restoring wholeness. And again, we are having to see the whole picture of who we are. And the people who have been in this sense of fear and are still adrenalized by these fear gnomes of gnawing fear that have been released into the mainstream. It is important to remember that it is not the end of the world. This is the opportunity. This is the beginning of the world. This is the beginning of a new world of collaboration and voluntary cooperation, where instead of having these authorities impose things on us from the top down, we have a realization from the ground up that we're all in this together, that we're all cells in the same body politic. And these rights that we have that were guaranteed, as Marianne talked about a while back, by the Declaration of Independence, by the founding of this country. What it said is that our rights to happiness, our rights to be ourselves, arise not from some king telling us that we have the right, but they arise simply from being alive on the planet. That is our right to be ourselves. And again, we've had divisions, people separating us. We've had identity politics, which pit one identity against the other and create this separation. What we need to do is we need to release these identity issues, and we need to focus on the identical issues that we all have in common: clean air, clean water, clean food, clean money, and clean governance, or in the ultimate case, self-governance. This is what is wonderful about all of the presentations on this program. I love this whole idea of portal for ascension, because let's face it, if we humans figure out ascension, we'll go up in history, right? And the question is, are we going to get to 5D before we get devoured by 5G? That is the problem, right? And so we have so many solutions. We have the beginning of this new world of solutions, of creativity, of being together and actually being all that we can be without necessarily joining the army. So this is a very, very powerful time on the planet. And so it is time for us to essentially leave the static of the head for the ecstatic of the heart. Feel that hum of unity. I love that sound consciousness. And I pray that very soon we will all be of sound mind, sound body, and sound consciousness. Now, one of the great ways that we have, one of the great tools that we have to bring us together, you know, we talked about music, we've talked about dance, we talked about celebration. We can come together through the healing power of laughter. The healing power of laughter. The secret, by the way, to equanimity and balance in life, low center of gravity, high center of levity. Because they say that laughter heals. Did you know that one young man of laughter, about this laughter contained in a small one-liner, can heal up to 1 megahertz of emotional pain? So here we are, we're on the threshold of holding some new thresh, finally. Yes, we have the opportunity to actually be in this harmony together, and there is no harm in harmony, and there is no sin in synergy, right? We have this separation that we are in the process of healing right now, and taking these energies that seem to be opposing one another, yin and yang, and bringing them together. These dueling dualities can now become dynamic duo dance partners. Because until now, by excluding the feminine, by excluding the intuitive, by excluding that part of our brains and hearts that are not part of this linear step-by-step reality, we have cut ourselves off of perhaps not just half of reality, but perhaps the most important part of reality. So I'm so happy to be part of this program. I'm happy to say that in these wonderful times, we have the opportunity to come together and not only be together as one, but be to ourselves as individuals. In leaving this identity politics, we recognize that, again, back to the Declaration of Independence, we are all equal. Each of us is the same as everybody else, right? And of course, we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity not to climb the financial ladder of success, but climb Maslow's ladder. Remember Abraham Maslow, who had this hierarchy of human needs, beginning with survival at the bottom. Well, what we need is thrival. Getting like the Thrive movie, we need to recognize that the old idea of survival of the fittest is wrong and incomplete. What it really is, the thrival of the fittingest. And so as we weave ourselves a web of mass construction and create this new world together by being ourselves, because as Oscar Wilde said, be yourself, everybody else is taken, we will have the opportunity to be together in a real new world order instead of one that represents the old world odor. So thank you again for putting on this amazing program with so much wisdom, and may all the ideal be grounded in the real deal. Swami Byandananda, namaste and namasko. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Swami. And if you want more Swami, you can find out about him. And sometimes Swami channels a guy named Steve. You find them both. And I love the name of the website. It's wakeuplaughing.com. Wakeuplaughing.com. And that's where you can find out. Bring Swami in. Look, we're all doing digital events, digital birthday parties, digital conferences. Bring in Swami like we do to provide his humor. And as you all have seen, underneath the humor, there's some very beautiful wisdom. We love you, Swami Steve.
Yes, and my new program, of course, as I zoom into your living room, it is called Swami Byandananda Unmasked.
There's no stopping you now. Thanks a lot, Steve, Swami. And we will look forward to our next connection with you. God bless you. Thanks. Well, coming to our final couple of things, we've got one more magic act, and then we're going to close out with some music and dancing with Fantuzzi. And for the magic act, Amy, if you're going to come on and help Paul, please reveal yourself. Come on back on camera. And if Amy, oh, there she is. Great. Okay, so there's Amy. So now I'm going to remove myself, And I am going to bring on our magician, Paul Draper. You know, one thing I didn't get a chance to mention, though, about Paul when we were kind of introducing him before, is he actually won a really, really cool award. And I didn't know this before. The International Magicians Society awarded Draper the Merlin Award for World's Best Corporate Performer. And he's also performed at Yale, USC, Apple, the Magic Castle in Hollywood, one of my favorite places to go. He's been on off-Broadway. He's even been in the Magic Circle in London. So we really are blessed to have Paul Draper with us. Thank you, Paul.
Yay! Thank you so much for bringing me back on to get to play a little bit and share a little magic. So the humans are symbol-bearing creatures. We are the only creatures on the planet that are willing to fight and die and rally around a symbol. You can't put a plus sign or a circle or wavy lines in front of a group of chimpanzees and have them say, yes, I will kill the circle chimpanzees. So I love symbols. I love symbolic anthropology. I have a prediction over here of the symbol that I think you're going to choose, Amy. Now, Amy, we didn't set this up other than the fact that you said that you'd help me. I have 6 symbols, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 cards. I just want you to name a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6.
6.
6? Are you sure? 6 is fine.
2.
What?
2. Yep. I'm going for 2.
Are you sure?
I am so sure.
Okay, whatever you want.
Yep.
I'm going to start now. You can change to 6. 1, 2. 2 is it?
That's it.
Okay. There are lots of different symbols that you could have chosen, but you chose number 2. Now, right here, number 2 is an arrow. That's your symbol, an arrow.
Okay.
Because all of us need to choose this symbol. The inner arrow that points us up to our higher and better selves.
Amazing.
Wonderful job. Thank you so much for helping me out. Give her a round of applause. Hey. Okay, I'll take it from here. Thanks so much. So one of the things, I'm now going down into the split so my head doesn't get cut off up above. I now want to end my little segment with a classic of magic. If you've been watching this show for a while, I'm sure you've seen this before, but I feel that it's worth sharing again. It's a beautiful piece of magic. I cut these out just for you, just today. I have 2 little paper hearts, 2 little paper hearts right there. I'll open it up. They're very thin pieces of paper. There's 1, and here's 2 right there. 2 little pieces of paper hearts. Now in this time, we've been fighting a lot, right? People have been fighting. We fight on the internet because we're far apart and we're not able to see each other face to face. And so we fight much meaner than we would if we were together. We fight because we're spending too much time together at home with the people we love, and there's too much togetherness. And when we fight, it hurts. Ow! It hurts a lot. Ow! And sometimes we get really angry. And like Mr. Rogers used to say, it's okay to get mad, as long as what you do with it is you pound the keys on your piano or you yell into your pillow. Ow! And we hurt each other. And those hurts can scar. But it's important to remember that we don't need to forget the hurt. We don't need to forget the people who've hurt us, but we do need to forgive, because when we feel all that anger and we hold on to that anger eternally, it's like swallowing a poison pill. You all know that. It doesn't hurt the person we're mad at. It only hurts us. And as Mr. Rogers said, I love Mr. Rogers. He said, we have to remember the people who blew the breath of love into us and breathed love into us in our childhood. And we have to find ways to heal and ways to come back together, ways to let people be mad, and ways to let people grieve, and new ways like this meeting over Zoom, where we can connect in new ways with new people that we love. Thank you so much for letting me connect with all of you.
Wow. Oh my God. God bless you, Paul. I'm a big fan of Mr. Rogers, I have to say. And I often quote him. And so thank you so much.
I was an only child raised by a single mother and Mr. Rogers on TV.
All right, so here's an interesting thing about Mr. Rogers. I produce children's television, educational television, so it's something I know a little bit about. And when Sesame Street came out, everybody making fun of Mr. Rogers. Oh, he's so boring. 10 minutes with a potato. It takes him forever to button the damn sweater. Everybody was joking about it, right? But when the long-term studies came out, and it took 20 years of studies, children that grew up exclusively on Sesame Street, attention deficit disorder, because it was so fast. Kids that grew up with Mr. Rogers, radically less attention deficit disorder, because they learned how to spend 5 minutes watching him button the sweater, 10 minutes with the potato. So God bless Fred Rogers. And I think now with the Tom Hanks movie and the documentary, people have really come around to realize what a genius and what his simplicity, his simple wisdom was so needed.
And when he looked through the camera screen without a live studio audience, and he said, "You'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too." I believed it. I believed that he wanted to hear what I had to talk about, and it touched my heart. And every time I perform a Zoom show, which I'm doing 6 a day some days, I think about him and the way he connected through the screen with love and affection.
Well, just as you were inspired by Mr. Rogers, I think many of us are going to be inspired by you. And so we can go to pauldraper.com, which then takes us to mentalmysteries.com, where you can learn all about what Paul has to offer, his shows, how to reach him. He's an amazing entertainer, so bring him on to what you might want him for. And you can also subscribe to his newsletter. So Paul, you've become one of our favorites, and it's just great to have you on the show. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the night. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Well, we are now almost ready for the very end. We're going to end with some music with Fantuzzi, but I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Deborah, to see if Deborah has anything she wants to say before we finish up with some music.
Just that it's really appropriate to end with Fantuzzi. He's one of our beloveds, global troubadour, and we began this show with him. And he really communicates a lot of light and love, and that's what this show has been about. It's been beautiful to come together, unify with compassion, and share so much love on this show tonight. And I appreciate all the presenters. And yeah, I'd love to turn it over to Fantuzzi so we can dance and have some good juju come through.
Right. So if you guys can hear us, you got to unmute. Fantuzzi, if you can hear us, you're up. We just need you to unmute, partner. Still can't hear you.
All right, you guys are ready for us?
Now we are. You're up.
Yeah, we're ready for you. We've been warming up in the cold out here. We're outside. It's Northern California. It's a cold night. So we figured we'd light it up with a little bit of love and music. And this is for your dancing pleasure. Celebrate life. Celebrate a new president or whatever you wish to celebrate. This is Fantuzzi and the Flexible Band. And blessed are the flexible, for we shall never be bent out of shape. So Mahatma Gandhi said, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. And Fantuzzi says, shine your light, your peaceful, loving light. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. That's right, you better believe it. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. So man, what you gonna do? Shine your light, your peaceful loving light. Shine your light, your peaceful loving light. That's right. Shine your light, your peaceful loving light. Shine your light, your peaceful loving light. America, some of your own medicine found its way around. Seek ye a new paradigm. Stop bombing every town. 9/11. He's my popular demand. It's on its way around. If you want a World War III, and not a heart of mine that sounds so. Shine your light, your peaceful loving light. What? Shine your light. Come on, your peaceful loving light. Oh yeah. Shine your light. Your peaceful loving light. Oh God, shine your light. Your peaceful loving light. Shine. Now, for some of the things we say, we just may be disliked. In that silence we will bring a bright light to darkest night. Cause it's in, not outside. Spiritual warriors of the light. Struggle we will win. Our light we must fight. So, shine your light. Your peaceful loving light. What? Shine your light. Come on. Your peaceful loving light. That's right. Shine your light, your peaceful loving light. Come on, shine your light, your peaceful loving light. Thank you.
All right, and
one more, right?
Yeah, one more, and we're gonna get Deborah dancing. We got Jim and Joelle who just joined us to dance, and hopefully we're gonna get a few more people to come dancing. So
I wish I was there dancing with Deborah.
Yeah.
Because she is a fine dancer.
She is. So the spotlight's on Deborah
plenty
too now.
Before. So this one's dedicated to the Divine Mother. That's Mother Nature, Mother Earth. That's your mama, my mama, Mama Sky, Mama Ocean, to the Divine Feminine, to the Mother of us all. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, celebration time. Give thanks, lots to be grateful for. Aye, 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 mama. Aye, 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 mama. In the spirit of love, I bring to you this song. Little African music for everyone to sing and dance along. We're one in the spirit. Oh Lord, we're one in our soul. Hey man, tell me, can you feel it? You can feel it? Let the music take control. Ah yeah. That's right. Aye, 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 mama. Aye, 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 mama. Sí, sí, Isaiah. 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 Thank you for joining us. Life is to be lived. Live it fully. Thank you. Aye. Aye, 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 mama. Aye, 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 mama. Aye, 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 mama. Aye, 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 mamá. Ay, querida de mi alma, te traigo esta canción, un ritmo africano, ¡epa! Rico vacilón, 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 música en mi vida, música de amor, corriente caliente, mi gente, con mucho sabor. Ay, aye, 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 mama. Aye, 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 mama. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to celebrate. Life is short. Live it. Arriba. Thank you, Divine Mother. Thank you, Mother Nature. Thank you, Mother Earth. Aye, 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 mama. Aye. They're all dancing. Aye, aye, mama. Aye. Aye, 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 mama. Aye. Aye, aye, mama. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Brother Fantasy.
I look forward to seeing you all on the Patreon site, where we'll get deeper and deeper and deeper and sweeter. Thank you.
Yeah, and you know what, everybody, go to fantuzzimusic.com. Fantuzzimusic.com. There's a lot of good stuff there. We love Fantuzzi. It all began with Fantuzzi. And everybody, I want to just wish you all a beautiful, beautiful weekend. A couple of things I want to remind people of is that tomorrow I've got my Secret Sunday show at 10 o'clock in the morning. So join us for that. And definitely join us next week for our Native American Indigenous Elders show. It's going to be very, very special, and a lot of energy is going into it. And it's going to be a very rare and unique opportunity to hear a lot of extraordinary voices. And because we've got all these amazing elders that are joining us, what we've decided to do next week is expand the show. There'll be Saturday Night Alive, as usual, 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock in the evening, meeting many of these elders. And then the following Sunday morning, we're going to have longer conversations with them as part of our Sacred Sunday show. So next weekend, it's all about Indigenous wisdom. Again, thank you so much. I'm going to bring Deborah on one more time, see if she has anything to say.
Just sharing all my gratitude for us spending this amazing evening together. Thank you to all the presenters. You were all amazing, the musicians. And thank you to all the people that donated to the GoFundMe. We really, really appreciate it. It's green love that's going to go out to the world and do a lot of good. So thank you, and sending so much love.
Thank you. And appreciating again, what amazing speakers. Foster Gamble. I mean, this man has just done such amazing work. And of course, Marianne and Charles Eisenstein and Lori. Really grateful. And most of all, grateful to all of you. There's still 200 people in our Zoom room and thousands watching on Facebook and the other channels. So thank you for watching. Thank you for staying with us. And we look forward to continuing to grow with you. Blessings on our world, maximum grace for us all. I'll go one last time to gallery view. Thank you, everybody. Good night and have a beautiful evening.